What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Onyx Report. Yeah, hope y'all are good. Don't know what your particular beliefs are, but, hope you guys are having a good holiday season. You know what I mean? Hoping you're well, hoping you're getting a chance to spend time with family. I know I'm looking forward to doing so. And, got an announcement in regard to my son, but I can't give it today. So I will give it once he gives me permission. So I'll just say things are going well. You know what I mean? Things are going well. Just finished grading the other day. So I'm still a bit of a zombie, but I'm trying to get back on the horse and get things going on my channel. So I appreciate y'all's patience, and we're getting it in. Shout out to Busy Mike. What's going on? I'm listening. Ron, what's up? F Holiday, Joe Average Brother MLR. Appreciate that cash app. Thank you, sir. Brother Ron, always good to see you, Brother Muwada. Hope you're well. AB Media, what's up? Jason, Malika, what's up? Rock, Electrician 480, good to see you, man. Clarence, what's going on? Brother Mark, you know what I'm saying? Longo or Eongo. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. I can't really see it clearly. Let's see, Landmark, hope everybody's well. I will be having people up tonight, so I look forward to hearing some of you guys' thoughts about some of this stuff. Even though I teach hip hop, I can't say I followed a lot of Blueface's work. My son is more familiar with him than I am, but some of the recent stuff I see happening, we got to talk about. What's up, Art? Good to see you, man. So yeah, let's go ahead and get some of this in. Shout out to Heru. Appreciate that support. You know what I mean? So let's get the others out of the way, the housekeeping. Like, share, subscribe, join, and donate. Support the channel if you will. Options to do so right there on the screen. You got Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and Patreon. And here on YouTube, of course, you can do the super chat. You can also become a member of my YouTube channel. Go ahead and click the options there and choose what level of membership you're interested in, or you can go to Patreon and you can support the Onyx Report that's here on YouTube. You can support the Institute for Black Male Studies, which has a YouTube channel. Just go ahead and put in Institute for Black Male Studies. You can see some of the interviews that are posted there. You can also go to instituteforblackmalestudies.com and see some of the classes available, the lectures, many of which are free. You can check those out. But again, on Patreon, you can support the Institute as well as the Onyx Report show. And then, of course, last but not least, you can also support the Onyx Network, which you can download onto your iPhone, your Android, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, or you can even go to my website and check it out live. And I will also, go to onyxchannel.network right here online, onyxchannel.network, and check out the channel live from there. So, support any of those endeavors, if you will, or all of them. We appreciate it as we're still trying to build and develop and expand. So, feel free to contribute ideas on what can be done as well. And we look forward to it. So, let's see here. Now, before we delve in, I wanted to kind of point out something I ran across that is definitely highlighting, how serious the moment is. This one was a little theatrical, but it still speaks to the situation. So let me see if I can pull some of this up. Yeah, it's a lot going on today. All together, man. I had stuff coming in the last few minutes, just ridiculous. But let me go ahead and share. Let's see, share the screen here. All right, so this is not what I'm showing you here, but this is, and this is, where'd it go? Yeah, where we are. It's serious right now. So in case you can't hear it clearly, shout out to Hakeem for that cash app. Appreciate that. Woman gets mad because bank tellers took her paycheck and kept it for overdraft fees she owed. And in response, she hopped the counter, went in the back, took her check back, and walked out. But this is real. You know what I mean? This is real. This is what people are grappling with. This is the economy that we're dealing with. Shout out to Wrench Turner. Appreciate that support. Good to see you, man. Hope you're well. Um, yeah, Clarence, appreciate that support. Says thank you for your representation and example. Man, I'm honored to have that acknowledged. Yeah, thank you. This is where we are, man. This is what we're dealing with. This is the level of tension, right? And most particularly around the holiday season. Now, I've had this happen to me probably about 15, 20 years ago, and I never wanted to go through it again. So, that's one of them kind of things you check before you go into the bank, and you come up with multiple strategies on how to deal with before you standing at a desk. But the tensions are high, and the reality is real, and it is what it is. Yeah. So that is, yeah, that is a woman. Somebody asked. So yes, it is. I just wanted to be clear about that. But this is what we're dealing with, and I just wanted to point out, as funny as that is, the difficulty of being in the situation is no joke. Um, and again, particularly around the holiday season. But that's one of the things that just popped up, and I just was like, wow, I've been there before. It is definitely not something to laugh at, but I couldn't help it because of the way it went down. She wasn't playing, and I know how that can be, So, for all of y'all out there, man, keep your head up, keep it 100. What's up, man? I hope you're well, and I definitely want your comment on this. As a matter of fact, let me know if you want to come through now. Let me know if you want to come through now. I don't know what you got planned tonight. Knowing you probably got the squad coming through the house. He ain't gonna have time. But if you want to come up, keep it 100. Let me know. I want to get your insight on some of this. I want to get a lot of the brothers' insight on this in a minute. It says, give me 5, no doubt. That's what's up. Um, I'll send you the link the way we normally do. Bear with me, people. All right. All right. Let's see. So I hope y'all are well. There we go. Yeah, we good. Okay. So the other thing, now this is something that came up last week, or on my last show, but I wanted to, it caught me off guard, and I wanted to at least acknowledge it a little more so than I've been able to, or than I have. So this is something y'all might know about. Like I said, in my last show, I found out about it in the course of the show, but I wanted to do it more justice by dealing with it directly. All right. So this is hiphopwire.com. December 14th of this year, rapper Granddaddy IU passes away at 54. Right. And we're getting a lot of these stories about brothers who are passing away much too young. There's a good picture of him right there. Beloved Queens in Long Island representing rapper Granddaddy IU, born Ayub Bey, has passed away, 54 years old. Right? GDIU was actually signed to the legendary Cold Chillin' Records by the late Biz Markie, who would produce his debut album, Smooth Assassin. Right? Let me see. It says, reports TMZ, legendary hip hop producer Pete Rock, longtime advocate for GDIU's skills as a lyricist, revealed to his followers the Queens-born rapper died peacefully in his sleep. Right? In the late 80s, GDIU was signed on Cold Chillin' along with Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, Roxanne Shante, and Biz Markie, the latter rap legend having a huge part in shaping his career, pushing his demo to the label, and even producing every song on GDIU's first album, 1990's Smooth Assassin. For early hip-hop heads, Granddaddy IU's single Something New was a favorite. Says Rest in Power King, hip-hop was in your DNA, wrote LL Cool J on Instagram. Got another shot of him right there. You know, yeah, man. This one caught me off guard, man. These brothers are dying, way too young. It says rest in powerful peace. But I will say I'm glad that there was no pain, or at least I hope that's the case. It says he died in his sleep. I'm going to assume it was as peaceful as possible, but shout out to Granddaddy IU. Yeah, man, that caught me off guard. Yeah, that caught me off guard. So shout out to him. Acknowledge that. And there have been a lot of rappers that have been going out in the last few years from a variety of different vantage points for different reasons. And it's not always clear. But it's something that I'm going to have to start paying more attention to because it seems to be happening quite readily, So anyway, shout outs to Granddaddy IU. So we're going to get into a little bit of this. Now, again, I'm not going to pretend like I have a strong background in the brother's work. Blueface, I'm not against him. I'm not. It's nothing like that. I just didn't know much about him. I just found out some basic information, and I look forward to some of the brothers who may be more familiar, more into it. My concerns are, a little different in terms of that. So I'll cover some of the basics just to kind of get on the same page in case there are those of you that are kind of like me who had not necessarily kept up with his work or anything of that nature. This is Blueface, right? This is a mugshot that you can see on the right that was taken in November 2022. His born name is Jonathan Jamal Porter. Born January 20th, 1997. Known professionally as Blueface, an American rapper. October 2018, after releasing the music video for his song Respect My Crippin', he became a viral meme due to his offbeat style of rapping. Following month, he was signed to Cash Money West Coast branch of Birdman's Cash Money Records label. 2019, remix of his song Tatiana, featuring Cardi B and YG, became his most successful single to date, peaking at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. 2020, he released his debut studio album, Find the Beat. All right. Some interesting things here that I thought might be useful to the conversation. All right. So he was born in 1997 in LA, grew up in Mid-City, central Los Angeles, attended multiple elementary schools before moving in with his mother in Santa Clarita Valley, later settled in Oakland with his father. After relocating to San Fernando Valley, Blueface attended Arleta High School, joined the marching band, playing alto saxophone and football. Became the starting quarterback 2014, standing at 6'4", 160 pounds. As starting quarterback, Blueface led the team to an East Valley League championship in 2014, throwing for 1,234 yards, 17 touchdowns in 2013, 1,724 yards and 21 touchdowns in 2014. Committed to play for Fayetteville State University and briefly played college football before leaving in 2016. He references his past experiences as a football player in the video for the remix to Tatiana, where the rapper portrays a top prospect high school quarterback, disrespecting his coach due to his desire to pursue women and fame. Blueface began to take an interest in rap music at a young age and mainly listened to 50 Cent, Game, and Snoop. All right, so it kind of goes over his career a little bit here. You can see some of the development of his work over time. Right. Eventually went into, for a brief moment, boxing, had a boxing career. A lot of personal issues apparently that have gone on. Shout out to Durante Swing. Appreciate that support. Shout out to Tim Howard. Appreciate that, man. Much appreciated. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, join, and support the channel. Shout out to Judas Blues. I appreciate that support. All right. So there's a lot going on. And I think mostly the reason I came to know who he was, and I think there are probably a number of other people that were introduced to him the same way, was through the altercations that, surrounded he and his girlfriend. Now, there's a lot of intricate details about what took place and when, and I'm not going to go through all of them. There are plenty of videos on YouTube where you can find that already, but we can at least look through one article to give you a sense of what we're looking at. So it reads, this is TMZ. As you can see, Chrisean Rock appears to admit she gave Blueface 2 black eyes. So this is, I guess, his current lady, amongst several, I would imagine, or at least as I understand it. That's what we're looking at. So it says Chrisean Rock appears to have admitted to hitting Blueface, which left him with 2 black eyes that she proudly showed off to their followers. So this is December 3rd of this year, right? The volatile couple were both featured on a recent IG live stream from Blueface's account, during which he said Chrisean was 10-1, but had not yet taken his belt. While it's unclear what exactly he's referring to, Chrisean seems to suggest it was about their fights. I'm not going to play the video, but I will put the link in the description box and or a little after the show, and I'll put the link for this particular article in the chat now for those who might want to glance through it. All right, shout out to New Jordan. Appreciate that support with the super sticker. All right, but you can see him in this picture. He's got a knot on the side of his head. He's got 2 black eyes, a little knot there as well on the side of his face. And he talks about it in the video. So obviously, I don't want to get into copyright issues with TMZ as far as the video is concerned. You can see a slightly clearer picture there. It says she showed off a photo of Blueface from her phone, flashing it to his own phone so that the IG live crowd could see it. And it looks to show the rapper with a couple of shiners. Now, this is interesting in and of itself. It really is. And it speaks to, how seriously people take abuse when it comes to men. Most particularly if the man seems unfazed, people treat it as such. But it's funny to me. I cannot imagine, if we took this instance and flipped it, where she's on camera showing off her black eyes and they're laughing about it, joking about being 10-1. I cannot imagine the world not turning on him and demanding his swift arrest. Shout out to Greg for the Cash App. Much appreciated. Right? Can't imagine it, but it's okay as long as it's a man. We still have these sensibilities. Right? We still have these sensibilities, and it's interesting to see. The only time I see people really up in arms about male abuse is, especially like if it's their son, then it becomes a factor. But anyway, so it says Chrisean is definitely trying to one-up Blue here, saying he looks like a raccoon there. BF, meanwhile, laughs it off, noting he took it like a snack, champ, and that he didn't even hit her back, as if that's something to be commended. So the article is not only making light of it, but it's kind of under the table dissing him, right? And apparently in this particular instance, he didn't even respond. That's going to become a factor later as we go through this a little more. It says he goes on to say that if he hit her like that, she'd go to sleep, and kind of gives himself a pat on the back for not retaliating. In the end, he tries to kiss and make up, but Chrisean isn't having it, making for a super awkward interaction and a lot of tension. It's more of the same from these two, frankly, an apparently toxic relationship that seems to include violence, allegedly from both sides. Right? So you can see a picture there where she has a bloody nose, busted lip, and some blood over her left eye. She's had several tattoos. I know you can barely see it here, but that's actually a tattoo of his face that she's gotten on her neck. She's gotten a couple of other tattoos in his honor. One of which is right in her groin, right? So got another one over her left eye. So this is an intense, relationship. Because remember, it wasn't too long ago that Chrisean showed off what she claimed were injuries at the hands of Blueface, only to take it back completely some 24 hours later. Their apparent nonstop ups and downs certainly seem to be laced with mutual combat, which we've seen on camera time and time again. It's just the latest example of what can only be described as a ticking time bomb, which is going to be aired for all to see in a new reality show they're shooting, Crazy in Love. So they seem to be monetizing this, and it's a bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. This is where that's where we are with some of this. So I just wanted to give a little bit of context, but those of you who follow Blueface a lot more, Blueface more, you know, a lot more of these details than I do. I mean, I've read a couple articles, I've watched a few videos, so you know, this is definitely an ongoing thing. There's a history to it, but I'm not going to pretend to know it all. But I am going to bring my boy in because I wanted to get others' opinions as we go through this, because this is a lot we about to cover. Shout out to Marcus. What's good, man?
Yo, yo, and this time I remembered to turn my mic on.
How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? Just chilling, just hanging out.
Man, I'm trying to keep up, but man, this wow. Are you familiar with Blueface?
Yeah, as an artist, as a as a rapper and everything like that. It's not my favorite artist, but when I saw this, I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Crazy, man. This is yeah. Um, I ran into a video a while ago where apparently, you know, Chrisean, I guess the girlfriend, you know, got into a fight with Blueface's mother and sister. Now, because
Right.
of all the copyright issues, you know, I don't think I'm gonna be able to play it. But you know, do you know anything about that situation?
So I saw this, then I started to watch other videos.
Right,
And I seen interactions or altercations, I should say, between him and her, and this is pretty much a regular thing with them.
right.
Um, yeah. So just like for a little background, I looked up, some other videos of them two getting into it. I didn't see the one you're mentioning as far as him getting into it with her family, other than this one. Did you? I don't know if you played.
We're
Did you play
no, we're
this
gonna
video already?
we're actually gonna play because there's some new footage that came out over the altercation that he got into with her family. But
Right.
you know, I was trying to preface that a bit with, you know, the altercation where she got into it with his family. So apparently, you know, that got pretty bloody. And you know, they're everything from baby mamas to his mother to his sister and his girlfriend all getting into it. But after the, you know, the altercations, and there have been a few, right? Let me see if I kept it. I ran into a few things, different points in time. There was actually even a street altercation between Blueface and Chrisean, where they had more video of them actually fighting. Here, actually, I think I can at least show this one, at least in hopes I can. What just happened to my screen right now? But all right, let's see if I can enlarge this a little. So this is, I'm not, again, you know, this isn't the video, but at least you guys can see the image. So this is a recent altercation, you know, they had on the street. There is video of this, you know, where they were walking down the street getting into it. And like those of you in the comments are saying, this has been a mutual thing, which is partially one of the reasons I'm talking about this, because
Hmm.
as toxic and problematic as it is a reflection of the nature of intimate partner violence, especially in the Black community. More often than not, and again, you know, shout out to Tommy Curry and the Man Not. He was the first to really introduce, even though this data has been around for decades, nobody really has talked about it, at least publicly, in my assessment, until we get to Dr. Tommy Curry. And he pointed out that abuse in the Black community is bidirectional. It is almost equal. And that is with men not even being socialized to interpret abuse as abuse and then go further and report it. So if the rates are almost equal and men haven't been socialized to even report it, you know what I mean? There's a lot there to be pulled into and talked about, because women have been socialized to view these things as abuse since the 1960s. Men really haven't. Matter of fact, the majority of how we learn about abuse is through films and media and even news reports that are primarily male against female, right? So when you see this kind of situation here, most people are geared to look at him as the problem. But there
Right.
have been so many altercations where she's been the initiator. They can't, you know, I think it's gotten to a point where, you know, people are a little more hesitant to point him as the problem because of the nature of how these things have happened. But you tell me, you know, what do you think the assessment is on these two and how they're viewed? You know, Brother Marcus, what do you think?
Well, it's funny. I just for the guys who are members of my channel, right? I just discussed this in a very explicit manner, just like the other day. We
Mhm.
weren't talking about Blueface in particular, but it's just
Right,
funny that we were discussing these sorts of interactions. You know, women putting their hands on you and stuff like that.
right.
Um, you know, I've said it a million times. It's been said a million times. You're in these relationships, um, and you have these sorts of like these violent exchanges, and if the woman starts to fight, she loses the fight, then
Mhm.
she's an abuse victim,
Mhm.
right? So there are people, and you haven't played the video yet, but I know you will soon. But there are people who, no matter how these things go down, no matter how bad, the woman's behavior is, or how violent, or how bad you get hurt, even
Mhm.
they see it as, you know this same archaic, like, yo, if you're a man, you're to take it, right? You're to
Yeah,
take
yeah.
you're to take it. So, I mean, of course, people who are smarter will look at this and say, okay, it's a bi-directional, how they say now, toxicity, right?
Mhm.
But you still have people that are living in this dream sequence that, it you can't hit women,
Right.
like, no matter what, you can't
No
hit
matter what.
women,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah. And it gets to a point where, especially if you socialize girls from a young age to believe that as well, there's no kind of limit on how they'll address it. And I think she's an interesting example of that, right? There doesn't seem to be a sense that, one shouldn't hit men. It's open season for that all day. But if he hits her, now we need to be concerned. And this seems to be
Right.
a popular trope that I think is highly problematic. So let me just share, because we got to do this on this channel. We're gonna share a little data as we go forward before we jump in, just to kind of make sure we're clear. So this is from a study in 2012, and what makes this study important, even though it is a decade old, is that it is an assessment. It is a meta study, a meta analysis of data from the 1980s all the way up to 2012, and it examines intimate partner violence, right? And I'm going to show you, two of the major results of this study that I think still pertain to the current moment. So the first of which you can see kind of broken down into an easily digestible framework, right? Where if you look at all relationships, 84% of them are nonviolent. Of the 16% that are violent,
Mm.
right, you get 58% of that 16, it's bidirectional, meaning that the violence goes both ways. It's male initiated and it's female initiated. So almost 60% of the 16% of relationships that are violent are equally violent from both sides. 42% of that 16 is unidirectional, where the violence comes from one person in the relationship, right? So if we look at that 42% of that 16, we look at that percentage that is unidirectional, what you find is that 28% of that is initiated by women and 14% is initiated by men. So even though we have the popular trope that men are more violent, what you actually have is men tend to be stronger and they tend to do more visible damage. Men tend to operate when intimate partner violence is engaged, men tend to use their hands, women tend to use weapons. They pick
Right.
up other items more often. Women also initiate violence more often. And from what we can also see here, right, they tend to be the unidirectional initiator of violence to a greater degree. But again, if they're not as visibly impacted, if men are not as visibly impacted, we assume that men need to be the primary focus. So that's the first thing I want to share. The second thing is from the same study. When you actually go to the paper itself, and I did a whole video about this, this chart comes about. And the title of it reads, this is table 8, says rates of bidirectional violence and unidirectional violence reported among white, black, and Hispanic ethnic groups from the same sample. Now, again, all those to the left, this is kind of a meta study of a variety of other studies. What they pulled out of this is that when you look at each group, and you can see the highlighted group in the middle. Let me see if I can just enlarge it for a moment real quick. Okay, that didn't work. All right, well,
you can make it the full screen. Hit the full screen one.
So that's what I did. Oh, but no,
oh,
it's working. So anyway, I'll just have to leave it like that for the moment. What it breaks down to you, and I want you to get a screenshot, and you can take your time and look through it at your convenience. That Black men are actually the most abused group, because when you actually look at bidirectional and unidirectional violence, what you're seeing highlighted there is the percentage, right, of bidirectional relationships, violence. And if you look right to the right of it, you see male to female and female to male. Right? You see these two columns right here, male to female and female to male, right next to the highlighted portion in the middle of the screen. And what you'll notice is that the violence from female to male in Black relationships is much higher than other groups, especially in terms of the difference between male to female and female to male violence. So that's one of the things that's important about this study, is it's not just a one-time study, it's a meditation on a variety of studies that go back 4 decades. And what they found in looking at all of this is that it's actually Black males that experience abuse to a greater degree than other demographics, especially when it comes to unidirectional violence. So reflect on that, examine it. If you're interested, you can look at it in more depth. And I think in many ways, this relationship is emblematic of these issues. Now, I'm going to play the video, and I want to get Marcus to comment on it as we go through. So this happened a few months ago, to my understanding, where you had her family confront Blueface with her there. She's there as well. And it becomes an altercation, most particularly with her father and Blueface. And there's a conversation that takes place that drew me to this subject. So, all right, hold on. Right, we'll stop here. So this is when they first meet. And I kind of want to, kind of preface it with that. The reason this is coming up today is apparently this is new footage, or there is new footage of it. You can see from the I think they might be near a hotel. And I think when it initially happened, you could see the altercation from the cameras at the hotel, but this is footage that's more on the ground. I don't know if you know anything about this.
So let me say this real quick. What they did was, when this first happened, you know how they like to chop stuff up. So they put out a video that made it appear that he was like unprovoked, right, in his attack, right? Like what he did with her father, like nothing happened. Now this is the whole thing. You know how they like to do with us. They only show us react. Right. So now this is the whole video. You understand? Well, go ahead.
Right. So this is the whole video, kind of giving us more context for what's going on. Appreciate that, Cameron McNeil. I'll try to put the link to the study that I just showed in the comments, where I can copy and paste it for you. If I do not, please remind me even after the video is done for tonight, and I'll post it in there so you can find it. I want everybody to know what the studies are, and in most of my videos, I try and put the sources so there's no mystery behind what I'm saying, and you're free to examine the sources and critique them at your whim. So here we go. So this is the altercation and the meeting of Chrisean's family with Blueface.
How are you? Motherfucker. Yeah, nice to finally meet you. Fuck, bro. It's so long.
Oh, be better than that.
Let me check. Could you guys hear that? Marcus, could you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it. I just muted myself for better sound, but yeah, for the most part, it's try to play it. You know, we'll see what's going on here.
I just want to make sure y'all can hear it because I have sound problems sometimes. But here we go.
Better than what?
Took you forever.
Nothing. All that was took her forever.
The insane with her. Like, Chrisean is precious to us. That shit. Listen, when that shit hit home, that shit hurt, and then that shit was fucked up.
Can I ask you something?
What?
Is she doing better?
I don't know. Is she covering it up? I mean, what? Y'all covering it up?
You don't know. Are you here? Is it a bigger than what it was?
Don't come like that, because
like what? You know what coming. I reached my hand out for you.
Better.
Did I reach my hand out for you?
You didn't appreciate all the mistreatment. She's a fucking princess. Listen, you had her in your fucking control. So I expect you to control her.
You don't want to be treated like that.
Okay. She
What you say?
She loves you.
Okay.
And she ain't under your control. So she's supposed to be under your care. You hear me?
What she saying to you? It's her fault.
It's her fault.
I'm a fault.
Okay. What anything you want to frame before we go into
She's a princess.
right.
My child ain't never hurt nobody.
And please tell us the problem with the princess. Break that down, Marcus. What is the problem with it?
This oh man, this entitlement, I mean, to me is almost like it's worship. It's
right.
worship. It's you know, it's divinity level, like, you know, this thing where, okay, no matter what she does, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, black queen, crack fiend, you know what I'm saying? No
right.
matter what she does, you know,
mm-hmm.
the way we see her, she's
right.
perfect. Nothing should ever befall this young girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is now she's hugging on him and everything like that because she knows what it is. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah,
right.
the princess that could do no wrong. You got all these people, and this man is supposed to just deal.
Yeah,
we'll see.
And he's not. He's not backing down. He's looking people in the eye. He's responding to what he's asked about. You know, but just to be clear,
I'm sorry, Blueface ain't a soft guy.
So okay. You know, here he is. So we got Chrisean standing behind him with her arms around him. Right, that's Chrisean's father and all the family, her family surrounding him, and you can kind of see, you know, the tension already. He engages it. He begins the conversation pretty open, says hello, starts shaking people's hand, and then you can see the intensity. And this is one of the reasons I called the video "Blueface, the Black Gynocracy, and Intimate Partner Violence," right? Because here we have the gynocracy in action, right? It showed up. The narrative is that they have to protect this girl from an abuser.
Right.
But you can tell at no part in this, even up to the point we've heard so far, are they engaging her abusive tendencies. They're not acknowledging it. It doesn't seem to exist. They are treating this the way we have been trained to treat intimate partner violence, as a unidirectional thing that happens from male to female. That's what we've been taught. That's what they're doing. So let's continue from here.
Nice to meet you, Father. You know what I mean? What's your name? What's your name? Shut up.
Wait, that's your wife?
Listen. Stay in your place. Don't go against the place. Stay in your place. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. You know why I wasn't. You know why I wouldn't come to happen. All that. You know why. You know why. I'm not here to blow up and nothing like that. I'm saying this. Don't do that.
Do what?
Don't touch my store like that ever.
So you teach your daughter to put her hands on me?
No.
So who taught her that?
No. Come on, man. Come on.
There it is.
So he asked the father, "Did you teach your daughter to put hands on me?" This is when I watched this, I was blown away because I didn't expect the exchange. Most of the time when people send me, you know, the clips of violence, you know, and shout out to John for sending me this because he put in huge type, "Doc, you got to watch this." And I'm thinking, I don't know.
No. John is me.
I wasn't trying to put you out there like that, but I was trying to protect the anonymity, you know.
I got you. I thought you were still confused, you know. 30 days.
I was trying to, be cool, but nah, man, I appreciate.
People know that's me.
No, but I appreciated you making me watch because I see a lot of violent clips, and I'm like, I don't know if I got the energy today, but I didn't expect the exchange. That's the thing that got me. The conversation that took place is what blew me away even more than the violence itself.
Right.
First, you have him, you know, you got this gynocratic group that's lined up and facing him. And then the father pops out, right? And this exchange starts. And Blueface looks him dead in the eye and says, "Well, did you teach her to put her hands on me?" I thought that caught me completely off guard. That's not how we're taught. But go ahead.
So what I want to say is, again, my awareness of Blueface is through his music, right? Which is, you know, like I said, I ain't a big fan. You know, it's real, you know, it's kind of ignorant, you know what I'm saying? And the exchange that he has in this video gave me kind of like a new respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was, as we go on, you're gonna see how articulate he expresses himself to these people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, John Allen is not my government name, by the way. It's just another profile. I just want to make that known. Yeah, John Allen is a guy I used to work with at an old job. But anyway, yeah, he's very, just want to put that out there. He's very very articulate. Like when he said that, I think he said, did you teach her to put her hands on men? I don't know if he said me. I'm not sure. Okay. But either way, again, very good question to pose in the situation.
Right. And we're gonna hear it again. So let's see. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch my store like that ever. So you teach your daughter to put her hands on men? No. So who taught her that? No. She did that herself. She did herself. Defend herself. Somebody first defend herself. Sean, you better stop. You better start something. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. You let us know you riding with me. Stop playing with me, Sean. How are we playing?
I'm drunk.
Hitting somebody first. All right, well, just chill. Let them talk. You making it worse than what it is. You ever hit a woman? Look, we trying to talk on your behalf. When you got holes in me. I got holes in me. I got holes in me. You ever hit a woman before? You motherfucking right.
What I'm talking about?
Because she ain't right.
Come on, man.
Did you catch what he said?
I want you to go into what he say.
All right. So Blueface asked him, have you ever put your hands on a woman?
Right.
And he said, that's effing right.
Mm-hmm.
That's effing right.
Mm-hmm.
So Blueface asked him pretty much like, then why don't you get it? Because he said, he asked him why. Why did you put your hands on a woman? He said, because she was being disrespectful. So he can put hands on a woman for being disrespectful, but nobody could put hands on his daughter. I think one key thing to remember, and for you, for me, for the chat, and I want this said, is that men also have parents who do not wish for people to put their hands on them.
Absolutely.
It seems that people think that the only people that have people that love them and don't want to see them harmed is women. You know, I have a mother and brothers and maybe sisters. I'll discuss that later. But like,
damn,
because it's complicated because it's relevant, right? But but we also have people who do not wish to see us hurt.
Right. And I've had debates with guys who will come up and say, at the end of the day, a woman can never be a threat to me. I don't care how she acts. And I've asked them dudes, okay, well, there are situations where we've seen hand to hand go left, but how much effort does it take for a woman to pull a trigger? How much effort does it take for her to use a knife? There are a lot of different ways there. I mean, whether we can talk about food poisoning. There was one story I read an article for last year, and this was an older white woman in Europe. She actually, she boiled sugar water and poured it on her husband while he was asleep. And the sugar kept it stuck to him to where he lost, I don't know what percentage of skin off of his body. And then she went next door to the neighbors and told them what she did. So tell me how abuse can only go one way, and it's not really a threat if a woman does it. That's part of that narrative that, because they are the physically weaker sex, they're not a threat. And therefore, any altercation we see must be something that he initiates. And again, that goes to the Duluth model. Check out the Man Not on the Duluth model, where he breaks that down, where everything is really a product of patriarchy. And therefore, even when men are violent or are victims, they are, and somehow the aggressors, because they're men and patriarchy supports them, right? This is this notion that many a psychologist and a law enforcement agent has been taught in school. And all this does is serve to dehumanize men. So even when men are grappling with being on the receiving end, they're still treated as the aggressors, right? We can point case after case out of men who are attacked. I mean, there's one gentleman we've talked a lot about on my show in the last, I want to say like the last year, where, you know, he was, Michael Craig is his name. And he was actually, you know, he was in an argument with his wife. She actually held a knife to him. He told his son to go call the police. The police showed up. They shot him. And then they took the wife to the hospital just to make sure she wasn't hurt. Right? Because it's not part of our consciousness that men might be vulnerable. So they assumed that he was the aggressor, shot him when they came in. She walked away scot-free as if nothing happened. Right? So these are the realities. That's the threat of what these philosophies, these outlooks, these worldviews we have, you know, can have against us. But you know, I rewound it a little bit. Let's hear that last portion again.
You ever had a woman before? Look, we trying to talk on your behalf. When you got holes in me, I got holes in me. You ever hit a woman before? I got holes in me. You ever hit a woman before? You motherfucking right.
What I'm talking about?
Because she ain't right. She disrespectful. That's why. So how you guess what? This the difference.
Yeah, but she knows.
Because I'm her father. I'm gonna step to her.
Right. I'm her father. I'm gonna step to her. So it's not a problem until it's his daughter, as if the women he hit didn't have fathers. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I think Marcus's point about men having you know, family members that love them and don't want them to be abused is key here as well. Right. But that's the only reason this is unacceptable to him, even though he doesn't debate whether his daughter was out of pocket. As a matter of fact, he blames his daughter for wherever she gets this behavior to be violent. He said nobody in the family taught her that. That's something she did. But you know, anyway. So here we go.
You ain't gotta do all that, bro. You don't gotta do all that. Come on, bro. Sean, you about to
Chill out.
don't beat your chest.
Come on, man. What's about you? What's happening? Chill out. You out. Tell me,
You had to beat your chest. You grabbed something.
I'm saying, chill out. Look at me.
Man, y'all making this a fight. Y'all making this a fight.
It's about you. You hurt. Hey, what's up with you? Hey,
Grab Sean.
That's you. You the one beating your chest, bro. Because you gotta do all that. As a man, you come on. I'm a man too. Come right here. Fuck all that. Come right here.
With them? No, all right. Let's turn up with all that.
Trying to talk to them. I'm saying, listen, stop touching me, bro. Stop touching me.
Don't touch me,
Bro, I don't know. The men
all right, you gotta know me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Am I touching you?
Yes.
How?
You just what right here?
Because you're touching me. Don't put your hand
You're in front of your chest.
Yo,
don't
touch me again. I'm telling you now. Don't touch me again, all right?
Hey, man, let him talk, Hasan. Blue, you got a daughter, man. You got a daughter. It ain't came yet. It ain't came.
I will never teach my daughter
Uh-huh.
that when she hits somebody first, it's self-defense.
Exactly.
It is. He's in front of me talking about she's defending herself.
You hitting her.
Now let's break that down for a minute. What did he say? That I will never teach my daughter that if she hits somebody first, you know, can you go into that, Marcus? What you think that is?
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about my sisters. What he said is, I would not teach my daughter that if she is the initial aggressor, then that's self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a bad precedent. Right? I have 3 sisters. One is older than me, 2 are younger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm the oldest male in the family as far as siblings is concerned. Right? I'm the oldest boy. Right? Mm-hmm. So I've been here before. I know my sisters very well. I tell people all the time. And Blueface again it articulated himself very well. I've said before, I'll tell my sisters, I'll tell a daughter, I'll tell, you know, any females, any women that I'm in close contact with.
Mm-hmm.
Don't initiate violence with men.
Right.
You're not going to win 9 times out of it. You're not going to win. And don't do it thinking that I'm going to jump from the rafters like Batman and come to your rescue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea that you know, and and again, I'm saving some points for later, but yeah, this idea, and he, you can tell why she thinks she can do that based on all the women around and the two guys. You see two guys in her family, but it's mostly women, right?
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if she realizes like she's putting them and him in this position.
Right. No,
So
and the father, I mean, he seems to definitely have a battery in his back. He's being kind of, he's being supported up there to initiate this dialogue, but
yeah,
some family members seem to want it to be a discussion. Other family members don't have a problem with it going further than that. You can see a couple of family members trying not to have an altercation, but a conversation, which I respect. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think the way Blueface is conducting himself in the midst of all this, because there's a point where it gets sporadic. They're pushing him against the glass window, and Blueface walks away with the father to try and have this one-on-one. And then you see, Chrisean and her family, getting, physical to a degree already. So as they walk away, the father, instead of engaging in the dialogue, goes into, this whole kind of don't touch me. He's in his face. Everybody knows from the playground when you were a kid, this is fighting posture, right?
You 3 feet.
Right.
3 feet.
It ain't a conversation when it's 6 inches. It's a conversation when it's 3 feet. But we go.
Right.
She defending herself. If she hitting you, hold on.
Oh, wait a minute. He just said she's defending herself. Let me back that up a little bit.
Right.
Defending herself. She hitting her. She defending herself. If she hitting you, hold on.
Notice the characterization of that.
Right.
You're hitting her, and she's defending herself. Now there's again in the chat, and we're broadcasting on Interlight Radio. Shout out to Interlight Radio. You can go to interlightradio.com, listen to the show, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're on all of those right now. So support the show if you will. But, he just framed their altercations as self-defense on her part. So for those of you, especially in the comments, that have been watching Blueface and Chrisean for years, you tell me, is this a dynamic where, she's protecting herself against an aggressor, or is she initiating as often as he is? But here we go. So, but I'm just saying the characterization the father comes with is reflective of how we've mostly been taught to think about intimate partner violence. It's not a surprise. It doesn't really break from that, even when you have video evidence of women that initiate violence, right? The article I took you to on TMZ showed him having 2 black eyes, and he didn't hit her back and she, supports that narrative, while TMZ, makes fun of him for pointing out that he didn't hit her back. So this is something she initiated. She admitted to it. They still come down on him for it. And we act like what the father's saying here is solely accurate, where it's a one-way initiation of violence from him to her, right? And these celebrities going through this end up becoming reflections of black men. We can go back,
right?
I mean, we can talk about how many different, artists and celebrities, black male, who end up involved in these situations, and it becomes a reflection on black men as a whole. But we don't even get the situation right with the celebrity, let alone black men, right? But here we go.
Teach my daughter that when she hits somebody first, it's self-defense. Exactly. It is. He's in front of me talking about, no, she's defending herself.
You hitting her, she defending herself. If she hitting you, hold on. I've been through that, yo.
So how you don't understand?
Because I took it. I went to the hospital and went to jail with the knife in me. What are you talking about?
Come on, Marcus. Come on, Marcus.
I went to the hospital with the knife in me.
You see that? Now, this was important. This is the moment where I was like, God damn, I got to do a show on this. That exchange right there, right? When Blueface is like, basically, what do you expect me to do? What did you do? I took it.
Right.
I went to the hospital with the knife in me. This isn't one. This stuff isn't new. I mean, you can see the age difference between the two just right out the gate. But this intergenerational dialogue is also something I think is very important, because you're looking at the boomers and Gen Z. and these two men having this exchange about what should be done. And basically, this cat is telling Blueface, you need to just take it. You need to take it. You need to take the slaps. You need to take the punches. And if it comes to a knife and a stabbing, you need to just go to the hospital in silence. You need to just take it. What do you think about that?
Imagine telling a woman, just take it. Part of being this real man character is taking abuse. And not only that, they're going to make fun of you. Either way, you lose. You take the abuse. If we heard that Blueface got, beat up by his girl, we'd be laughing. Matter of fact, there was I'm asking the chat. I might have heard. It's probably a couple of interactions that they did have where he didn't hit her back, and I think they clowned him for it. We seen Bow Wow get beat up by his girlfriend. You see his mugshot all scratched up, and you see her mugshot. She's smiling. Right. So we made fun of him.
That have been in that situation I've reported on. Yeah. Football players, basketball players.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So yeah. So all of these things. So basically they want for men, or in particular black men, right? What they don't want for these women. And the funny thing is, then you'll hear stuff like, black men are the white people of black people, right?
Right.
And this flies right in the face of that. Like, you got men and women. There's cameramen around him. There might be some security, but he's for the most part by himself. He's the only person that's there. Like, his homies ain't there, none of that. He's there alone with her and her family.
Right.
The kid in the green, everybody is from her family. This dude, somebody said in the chat, this guy's not a patriarch. He's the women run it. Dudes are just pretty much drones. They just there, and
he's kind of an attack dog in the situation. The father. Right.
Well,
it looked like the one in green was trying to prevent it from becoming a physical altercation. But I only saw that in a quick second, so I don't know what I may have missed.
Watch him as you play it,
right? And
everybody in the chat, watch his facial expressions, and then he pulls old boy to the side and whispers in. You're gonna see, because I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the case. Go ahead and check it out.
Okay. So here we go.
And I keep, come on, Joe, listen. It ain't never been a joke. Ain't no family. That's me. That's what I do.
Just say you're gonna make it right, say that.
I already made it right.
Say you're gonna make it.
It's already right.
Say you're gonna treat her how she deserves to be treated. Say that, don't keep asking us fucking questions, y'all, that's fucked up. And it's a slap in the fucking face. It's just like a bomb.
Camera shit.
Y'all doing all this hollering, man. It's getting weird, bro.
That's fucked up.
I don't know how y'all expect me to react.
That's our baby sister, bro.
Men do.
So how you don't tell your baby sister?
Bro, so you basically saying she wrong every single time.
It don't matter, wrong or right. It's
That's what I'm saying.
I'm defending you, bro.
Wait.
You heard it.
Wait. Right. So the guy in green is Chrisean's brother, and she says, so you saying you saying she's wrong every single time. And I don't know who the woman is in black. I don't know if that's her mother, her aunt, whatever. But she says it don't matter. Did you hear that? It don't
wrong
matter.
or right. It don't matter.
Wrong or right.
Even when she's wrong, she's right.
Right. In other words, she just reiterated what the father said. Take it. Take it. Doesn't matter what it is. Wrong or right, no matter what extent. If you're in the hospital with a knife in your back, take it.
Right.
I've shown you guys over the years. I've shown you pictures, clips, videos of people, men who've been stabbed, who've been shot, who've been, who've and are some of them have died behind this. Right? This attitude, this worldview, this perspective that you as a man are just supposed to take it. Now, I believe in self-defense. I don't believe in initiating violence, particularly with women, but I'll tell you, there's a certain point where once you defend yourself, you got to leave the situation. You got to leave a relationship in many instances and call it a day. But anyway, we'll get to that. So here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. Anything you wanted to drop in on this, Marcus?
No. Go ahead and rock it.
Here we go.
So,
She going against us. Telling you now, don't do it again.
wrong or right?
Get it no more.
Wrong or right, she right? That's what y'all saying.
No,
That's, I can't agree with that.
bitch,
I
right
can't
or
agree with that,
wrong,
bro.
then she should be right.
That doesn't make sense.
It do. What you mean?
Wrong or right, she right?
Put your hands on her.
Wrong or right, she right?
So you telling me you want to shut her down and put your hands on her? What you talking about?
Anybody, anytime somebody put their hands on me,
Not gonna let you.
I'ma react.
Look.
You can't control nobody's reaction.
You say you're gonna conceal that person.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna react.
Put your hands on her. You don't love. So what are you saying?
I'm telling you, anytime somebody touch me, I'ma react. That's all I can do. Right? What you gonna do, man? Why you acting like you not?
It's for sure. We're talking about for sure. It don't fucking matter what we
Bro,
do. You talking
besides
about
on the female
right
shit?
or wrong, don't fucking touch
All
me.
right, now you on that.
Right
Talking to
or wrong,
dude in the
touch me.
green.
Right.
So,
Yo, you stop it. You need her. All that shit in the fucking corner.
why you keep standing in front of me?
Because I want to. Because she's protecting you. Go ahead and try to.
She's not protecting me. She's not protecting me.
Her love is protecting you. Even she said it once, I'll tell you this. Her love is protecting you. Even if she not fucking, if you don't want to cry, consider, you know what's fucking lucky you in our city, and you know it's because of her or the strip of her. That she ain't standing on fucking city.
I came up because of her. Back up? What do you mean back up? I brought you.
Baby.
Oh, yo, you didn't bring my mother, my nigga. We flew our mother back, bro.
To her first video? To her first video? She got to see her child doing better. Y'all making this shit level. Y'all making this shit weird. I'm not gonna argue with no female. I don't argue with females.
Yes, put your hand on one. Don't fucking touch her.
I don't argue with females.
Don't touch her.
I don't argue with females.
Now that's interesting.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's interesting. He said, I don't argue with females. Right.
Right.
And before that, before we got to that part, which I think is interesting in and of itself, because there's no way that was going to de-escalate with him trying to engage them rationally. You saw it continuing to escalate, and his voice hasn't gone up at all. He's actually asking questions. He's answering questions. He's being direct. He's looking him in the eye. He's not backing away. He even asked Chashawn why she was standing in front of him. Right? He's engaging the conversation. But at no point is he initiating violence. At no point is he raising his voice. He's just pointing out what doesn't make sense. And he says, if anybody puts their hands on me, I'm going to react. Now, I would say to men, don't react, act purposefully in whatever you do, even if it's in self-defense, to the extent that you protect yourself enough to get out of the situation and then pull out of the dynamic altogether. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing when you're in a relationship with someone, but I am saying it's best to do that. But nevertheless, he's pointing out the fallacies and the stuff they're talking about. Like there's no right or wrong when it comes to her. Whatever she does, you just got to take it.
So they want him to just agree.
Right.
They just want him to concede it. Right. He's not conceding it in the vocal exchange.
Right.
So as he refuses to do that, they get more aggressive, and as they get more aggressive, they're trying to, I guess, increase the energy for something to happen to them, right?
Yes.
Because that's what they want.
That's what
they want. They want this dude touched.
Right.
Okay. It's just like the whole, Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, the countless situations you want to think of. They want something proxy to go down, right?
Exactly.
Now, you could, because I've been here so many times, not necessarily just with females, but like how many dudes in the chat really been in some ish, right? He's like, yo, this is getting weird. What that means is this is about to go left.
Exactly.
This is a street guy. He's really, really trying with these people. And you can see when you play it again, just bring it back a little bit. I want people to see his face like, yo, if this was anything else and anywhere else, it would have happened already. Right. He's really, really, really trying for this thing to go smooth because this is his woman's family and he doesn't, but he knows because he's street dude.
Right.
He feels the energy. He's like, they about to do something, and I'm ready. I'm
Right.
ready. Go ahead.
But there's something else interesting about this exchange that I want to point out, and that is the shift generationally in this perspective on chivalry. Right. When you look at the elder situation, the elders in this dynamic, particularly the father, who again I think is a boomer. The attitude is that you're supposed to be chivalrous simply because, right? You're supposed to be chivalrous just because, and whatever she does is excused because she's a woman. Notice his reaction. His response is no. Basically, no. Yeah. I'm going to hold her accountable to her actions, and I'm going to defend myself if need be. Now, I would say, after which they should have left the relationship the first time, but we know that that's not been the case. But I would still urge men who find themselves in a situation like this, leave as soon as you can, because there's nowhere else for this to go. Really isn't. But the way he's handling himself in this dynamic, I think, is about as good as you can get, as far as a man who's engaging the people that are confronting him. But the thing about it, though, is he won't accept the chivalrous line, and they keep pushing it. They keep pushing it. I think Marcus is right. They're itching for him to, as you put it, be touched. But he's standing his ground, and at the same time, he's explaining himself, and he's contradicting and challenging when they're coming out the mouth with something that's ridiculous. And he's basically saying, no, I'm not going to play the chivalrous game where she gets to, there's no accountability for how she carries herself. I'm going to hold her accountable for her behavior. That is a major generational shift in how this whole gender dynamic is viewed.
Yeah. He's not bowing down to the Gynocracy. And what was old boy's name in the chat? I forget your name, bro, but I just want to comment this. The Valley in California ain't Beverly Hills, bro. It's not Beverly Hills. He said, oh, he ain't that street. He grew up in the Valley. What does that mean? I've been in the Valley. It ain't that laid back, and violence can jump off anywhere, but again, I looking at the look, the energy, the look on his face. He is not bowing down to the Gynocracy, and he must be punished.
He must be punished. So let's actually see where it goes.
You a female.
Yes, I put your hand for one. Don't touch her.
I don't argue with females.
Don't touch her.
I don't argue with females. Hey, somebody with sense for the talk. All this.
Hey, hold on, guys.
Yeah, it's right or wrong.
Yeah, I see you.
I'm talking about right or wrong shit, right?
Pause.
Hey, hold on, just real quick. We got.
Hey, Vance, ain't no recording shit.
All this. You're not doing it.
No recording. Put your phone down.
Yeah, all that.
I don't care.
Bro, you done already switched. I don't even know you. You was way different. I don't even know you right now.
Okay, let me talk. If you say curl play, hey.
Swing on, don't record.
What are y'all swinging on me? It's going up.
I got it. You went to it. I got it.
You heard what he said?
Yeah.
Ain't no recording.
So what's the point of all of this? What's the point of all of this?
I'm here for her.
What's the point?
we want to get you behind the scenes before this even came, so we can holler at you, really give you the benefit of the doubt. But you keep trying to act weird.
How you giving me the benefit of the doubt when I say hello? My name is Blueface. So how's that the benefit of the doubt?
The conversation before the fucking cameras came out.
You asked me?
They want to give us that.
Did you ask me?
You know, you just, nigga, it's FaceTime and speakerphone. You right there, you fucking heard us. Don't act dumb.
Why don't you say what?
You heard us.
You coming with all this? All this extra energy is like crazy.
Energy, nigga, you like you ain't getting
That's why I told mine, man.
What's that? No, you don't got nothing. You don't got nothing. Bro, what's happening? What's happening?
Oh,
All right, so let me go.
No, this shit, no.
what you hoping for?
Get old ass man. Why you holding me?
All right. Let me see. Shout out to Ghetto User. Comments on this. He says, nothing new here. Seen it before. Been in it. Everyone takes the woman's side. I'm a boomer, and I've never accepted that take it nonsense. All right. But this is not about every individual boomer, Gen X or Gen Z or millennial. It's not about that per se. It's about the values of the time period, the values of the generations, right? So when you look at the boomer generation, the values of the generation, despite an individual boomer who may not agree with it, was very much that chivalry was the way to go. Now, I think Gen X is when we started to see that come into question, particularly during the, the late 80s through the mid 90s. You saw a lot of that in hip hop, where rappers were actually talking about the actual behavior of women in response to a lot of the feminism that we were getting in popular media. So you started to have this question about, just straight chivalry. But I think once you get past Gen X, chivalry is not going to have the same weight that it had in the previous generations. And I think that's one of the things we saw in this exchange. But give us some commentary on this, Marcus. What you think?
So it is my opinion that the brother probably whispered to the father, like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we about to do this. Now, this guy is towering over everybody. And I'm talking about Blueface.
Yeah, he's 6'4". Yeah,
it's a big guy. It's a big guy. And once old daddy threw that whatever that was, because it nearly missed him, right? If he touched it lightly touched him.
Yeah, it lightly touched him.
He hopped over that whole crowd of people. Did you see that? all the wigs and the braids and all of that. He just whoop whoop. Right? This is a guy that just got, I think he was out here and shot at somebody. He has a attempt murder charge on him. Right? Just hop. Okay, so he's not a sucker. This, hopped over all those women to get at this man. It ain't in this video, but he got him.
Yeah.
Oh, he got him.
He knocked the pops out.
All the way down.
He knocked him out.
And it was so sweet for me to see that. I'm just saying, because this is the way I feel, man. What he said? He said, if anybody puts hands on me, I'm gonna react. Right? React. Maybe that's the word he used. How whatever. Right? Yeah. React, defend, whatever the case. Right? And that's human.
Right.
That is human.
Yeah.
So I would have done the same in the same situation. Yeah. But the thing is, again, like, this kid, he wasn't bowing down to these women. So the men there on behalf of the women, they had to show force.
Right.
Or the women would have went home and they would have got chastised and scolded. Why didn't you do nothing? Like, right. Regardless of them putting themselves up, in danger of getting in any type of injury, you ought to potentially sacrifice yourself.
Yeah. Another possibility for this exchange is if one of the women did strike, whether Blueface responded or not, that's supposed to also entice the men of the family into action. So even if the father didn't throw the first blow, he could have been, it still could have been initiated if one of the women did. And they were amping themselves up. You saw it. The whole conversation, no matter how
all
calm,
the hand gestures.
All the hand gestures in his face, the yelling, their voices escalated. Blueface was getting calmer. He was speaking directly, but he was calm. He looked people in the eyes. He pointed out when something didn't make sense. He explained himself when he was questioned. And as those things escalated, yeah, you're right, Marcus. He knew it was going somewhere. He said it. He's like, it's getting weird, but he knew it. And when it finally got there, he was ready for it. But notice in the exchange, he didn't hit any of the women.
Right.
Not that I saw.
Also, I don't know. I'm sure you caught it just in case nobody else caught it. He said, if one of you swing, it's going down.
Yeah.
He said directly, if one of y'all swing, because again, the energy.
He felt
it's like, I already know what this is. If one of y'all try it, it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And shout out to Dark Side who pointed out, because as I said when I read the article earlier, Blueface, he's a boxer apparently. He's played football. Now he was going into amateur boxing. Says Dr. Dark Side says Dr. T, I guess the dad forgot or didn't know that Blueface has combat sports training. He literally had professional boxing matches. He paid for that mistake.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Mm-hmm.
This understand, like, even in the face of like firearms, right? You are supposed to lay your life down,
right,
for the gynocracy. It doesn't matter what the threat is.
And she is never to be held accountable, especially by other women. She's not to be held accountable. Whatever she does is acceptable. Your response is to take it. That's the only acceptable response. And I found something similar even when it comes to online debates with feminists. Your response is supposed to be silence. So you're seeing the same kind of patterns in multiple environments. You're supposed to be quiet. You're supposed to take it, whether it's physical, whether it's verbal, no matter what the exchange is. There's no accountability for women's behavior. Right. All the accountability falls on you. Now, that may have made sense to previous generations where this chivalrous code is in action, but I'm here to tell you, after Gen X, that's not how that goes.
So
how that goes.
Right. So so now I'm gonna flip this on the other side. As the older brother of 2 younger sisters and the younger brother of 1. Okay. I've been in situations where my sisters have gotten into issues with, ex-boyfriends, baby daddies, things like that. Mm-hmm. And of course, my phone rings. They don't call my brother, they call me.
Okay.
Right. So what I'm gonna say to everybody listening to this listening to this video now or later, don't be Batman. Okay. I like know who the women in your family is.
Right.
All right. I understand, a lot of you want to be protectors and all of that stuff. And, if you got daughters, you got to teach them, don't have me out here. If you got love for me and you care what happens to me, don't be out here kicking up dirt and expect me to come clean it up. I don't know and I'm gonna make this as short as I can. I don't know if I told you this story that I had out one time out here. I was eating in my car and I tried to toss I was eating some Panda Express. Shout out to Panda Express. So I threw the tray towards the dumpster and I missed.
Okay.
So before I could get out the car and go pick it up, a woman walks out. She says, "Hey, pick that up," right? Mm-hmm. So I said, "No doubt, no problem." So before I could get it, another woman walks out and she starts doing that, right? What the women are doing in this video.
Okay.
Right. So I'm like, all that is unnecessary. But what I know is that when a woman is talking to a guy like that, there's a guy present. I just ain't see him yet.
Okay.
I just ain't see him yet. Dude, huffing and puffing. But you two, you can't do me no damage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then here comes the guy.
Right.
Now, brother, this is Nevada, and we roll strapped.
Okay.
Legally strapped. Now, this dude is walking towards me like he's going to do something. Doc, he was that close.
Oh, wow.
And she was egging him on. Then she said, and you'll find this interesting, "We don't care what you got. We don't care what you carrying." See, your brother, boyfriend, whoever this guy is to you, he's feeling pressured to do something to me because you're aggy, you're making noise, but you don't care what I can do to him. I could lay him out right now, call the cops, say, "Hey, look, he tried to attack me." Pow.
Mm-hmm.
He was that when on baby Jesus, he was this close to getting popped.
Right.
Yeah. He turned around when she said that. He turned around.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, wait, hold on. What am I
You know,
doing?
wait, right.
What am I doing?" He's a big dude, big
Right.
old husky, Smokey the Bear dude. He like,
Mhm.
"Oh, hold on." He did a about face on a dime and walked away. He said, "I got something for you." So I guess he was going to walk in. And in that moment, I got in my car and drove off.
All of this over you throwing out some trash. Are you serious?
A styrofoam tray. Tray.
Well, what I think we're looking at though is, and I've seen this situation a couple times. I reported on one, I think in New Jersey at a donut shop. But you have women that enjoy the fact that they have an attack dog, and it's a bit of a power flex to know that you can make a phone call or give a look, and a family member, boyfriend, or husband will come to your defense, quote unquote defense, to basically enact your will. Yeah, so there are some women that like the flex of that power and use it, but to the extent that it could even cost the man in the question their lives,
right,
over nothing, right? And we're at a point where many of us will do it simply because we've learned this idea, this chivalrous code that we're supposed to operate by. We've learned this often from the women we're raised by, the same ones that will put you into these situations simply because she can. And,
These guys in the comment section crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
And we don't. Hopefully, Charles will come up in a minute. I'm gonna drop the link in a second. So that's one of the things that we need to call into question. This kind of attack dog sensibility, where we're employed to act out her will simply on the basis of whatever crosses her mind or her feelings at a given point. And this has to be questioned. There's actually, you reminded me when you were telling your story, there was a story that one of my favorite comedians, Patrice O'Neal, once told. Patrice O'Neal, who is no longer here, God rest his soul, was 6'4", 300 pounds. And he was walking in, I think he said in a mall with his girl, and she gets into a verbal altercation with men. And she's getting louder and louder because he's standing there. Now, he did something that completely went the opposite way of many of the guys we're seeing. He turned around and just started walking away. It wasn't out of fear. He wasn't running because he was scared. What he had a problem with, which he explained to her later, is that the only reason she was acting the way she was to take advantage of his physical presence. This is what I mean when sometimes at the end of my show, you hear me go through all the things that Black men have to be clear on what we're not. And one of the things I point out is unpaid bodyguards, let alone attack dogs. What Patrice was pointing out to her is that your so-called bravado is really a flex. And this is what Marcus just got through saying when he said, I knew a man was present even though I ain't see him yet. Patrice was pointing that out to her. You were basically using the threat of my presence and what I would do on your behalf to flex on other grown men, knowing full well that if I wasn't there, you wouldn't have engaged that exchange that way in the first place. But even to those who would confront, and I've seen this too, some women do get off confronting men and getting in their face. One of the things I tend to find seems to be fairly consistent is there's an assumption that these men won't touch you. There's an assumption that we live in a society where this feminist idea, even if it gets into female superiority, goes beyond feminism and is a female superior. There's this idea that nobody's going to touch you, and there's a certain type of entitlement that plays out even there. And when I have seen the physical get started and a man responds physically, she looks shocked, like she didn't see it. Tell me if you've seen that. You seen that before?
Oh, absolutely.
She looks surprised when it goes down. Because some guys don't care. Some guys do not care.
I do not care.
Yeah, see? And when it goes down, but the thing that always gets me though is the look of shock when it happens. But part of that is because they don't expect it to get physical, even though she's giving off cues, right? We've known, especially males, we know from the playground in elementary school, the rules. Right. You get up in somebody's face, it can go there. Right. These are very basic primal rules. But women will violate those primal rules and rely on a man's internal code and flex on it as if it's a demonstration of her strength when it's really a demonstration of his self-control. And if he goes out of boundary and hits her, most of the time she's shocked. And then you see others come in then and later to say that this shouldn't have happened. But there's no pushback against the behavior that started the altercation, especially, in terms of the woman. It's not, that's something that hasn't really happened. And I think it's starting to be cultivated, most particularly by men who are tired of these kinds of dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now I want to hear Marcus's take on this, but I'm also going to drop the link into to the comments. So you're welcome to come on in and engage this.
So I've been in situations, not all of them have been like relationships, but like even with just like I remember one girl that I grew up with. What we were roommates, and they told her, I heard the phone conversation. This is in the 90s, and this is before cell phones, and if you picked up the phone in the other room and you just listened,
oh yeah,
you hear the interaction. So they were like, get him to hit you. So you can get, yeah.
Wow.
Right. So I heard it. Right now I'm maybe 20, 21, something like that. And they're like, get him to hit you. They were trying to get me out of there. Get him to hit you. Right. So the day that it went down, she jumped in my face. She's yelling all in my face. She's about this close to me. And one of her boys was standing. He was in the room. And I looked at her and I just smiled. Because I knew what it was. Right. Because it made me laugh. I'm like, I just smiled. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then my smile triggered her to death. Like, it didn't work. And since then, I've been in situations where, like I've never had to put hands on a female in a romantic situation.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this again, in a romantic situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time it's talk, it's you get up in my face or whatever, but I've had girls physically try me.
Right.
And that doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm gonna articulate that. It doesn't work out.
Well, the smile is triggering, and you actually saw Blueface use the same thing. He smiled in the midst of it, and you could see how it triggered them.
Right.
In the sense that, in other words, what it says is you're not a threat to me.
Right.
That's essentially what it says.
Right.
And and they definitely took offense to that. But we got AB Media in the house. We got Officer Charles, aka Black Superman, in the house.
Woo!
Before all of y'all leave, I want y'all to shout out your channels and where people can find you. But
you can find me at Charles Faulkner Jr. And once again, for the civilized Baltimoreans, goddamn, we took an L. And I think this happened in where? Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it happened in Baltimore. I think it was the John, like around, not too far from downtown or the Johns Hopkins area.
Oh, really?
And Rocky, she's a typical Baltimorean hood rat who could have made it through, D1 sports. She was a D1 athlete. Could have made it.
Yeah, she was cold, actually. When I saw some clips of her running track, she was cold.
Yeah, she was very athletic. See, I think I told this story on my channel about my son. My son's 15. He's taller than me now. Nice, happy-go-lucky kid. Loves his video games, his working out, his anime, that's why we get along so well.
Mm-hmm.
My parents never taught me, just like I never taught him, not to hit girls. Mm-hmm. I was taught and he was taught, don't be a bully, try to avoid conflict. But if you can't avoid it, end it. So little girl, 2 weeks ago, decided to come bother him where he's around his little girlfriend and his buddies. And she's trying to berate them and all this other stuff instead of doing her own damn work.
Mm-hmm.
You know how this black feminist BS where they gotta demean you, but you can't say nothing back. That's what she was thinking. So All his friends went somewhere. He and his friends went to another part of the classroom to avoid her. So she gets up in his face. They go, he stands up because he's like, once again, you know when something's imminent.
Right.
So your spidey senses are tingling. So he stands up. They going back and forth. She decided to go in his face.
Oh wow.
Oh dear.
And let me put it to you this way. I taught my son how to box, how to wrestle, and do ground fighting. When the teacher said she's not going to lie, that was some of the quickest 3 hands that she saw. Her face. And it buckled. And my son was seeing red. And I don't blame him. And according to the video, he literally knocked her down and had her in some type of combination of a triangle choke, armbar. Which I do have to say kudos to the technique. It was funny because when I told the mom, because when the principal came and called me and said you had to pick up your son, I said, okay, what happened? Oh, he got in an altercation and the girl spat in his face. My reaction to her was she still conscious?
Yeah.
Because that's considered a hate crime. And
Isn't that considered assault, if I'm not mistaken?
Of course it's assault. Assault is defined as unwanted touching. So if I touch you and you don't want me to, that's assault. Let alone spitting, that's degrading. Excuse me. So what kind of triggered me was when his mom called and she was like, I'm going to slap the out of Peanut, even though we don't call him Peanut in school. And my first reaction was, if you slap him, I'm slapping you, especially without even hearing his side of the story. And she was like, but this the second time I said the first time he was in an altercation with a girl, the girl hit him and thought he wasn't hit him a couple of times and thought he wasn't going to hit back.
Right.
This is the same situation except in high school. Have you noticed these girls are not dainty creatures? They're just as rough as the boys. They're just as disgusting with the mouth. The only thing they don't have is the physical capabilities of men.
But they also have no chill in the sense that they've not been introduced to repercussions.
Yeah, they have no restraint, Doc. They have no sense of restraint.
Yeah.
And situations happen to me on the job and off the job where here it is. I'm a very capable, strong guy. Like, I'm thinking, and women are bucking up in my face, and I'm looking at them like, you do know I will maul you. You do something I really don't like, I will maul you. And then there's times I've been in the same situation with Marcus. And some simp enforcer will come out. And I said, look, buddy, there's 3 things going to happen. We're going to walk away. You come up too close, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you with the right hand of God. Or I have my 6.5-inch knife from Cold Steel that's always on me. Or I'm always carrying a Glock 23 or a Glock 21, 40 and 45 caliber. Hollow point. And I'm like, look, this is not going to go. Well, I'm like, look, what you think is going to happen, it's not going to happen. I don't want to hurt another brother needlessly because you're trying to impress this woman. The only time I even defended a female was my niece, and because the situation happened at my house. And this is the reason why somebody put it in the chat. The first rule of protection is obedience.
Right.
If you do not obey what I say, you put yourself, for example, I'm sorry for taking up the time, but this is a good example of females not believing in male safety. Don't force me to put myself in a dangerous situation to pull you out. And this happened years ago. My niece had a child, and even though her dad died because he was a street dude. Let's just face it. She had a. I kept telling her, "Do not have a kid by none of these nifnons. If you're gonna have a kid, at least do it by an astrophysicist or something. Somebody with some or a military officer. Somebody with something you can be proud of, and your son can be proud of." But of course, she doesn't listen. Some good dude. And she was staying with me till her house was ready. And I told her, "Look, the baby, my great nephew was 5 months old at the time. Good God, he's like 13 now. But I was like, look, you can stay here as long as you want till your thing gets ready, but don't bring anybody here without my permission because I have a lot of high power weapons here. And I don't know who's here and I don't know what. And plus, to give you context, I just had my wisdom tooth pulled, so I was really kind of irritable.
Ooh.
And I'm watching TV, watching Netflix. Netflix pretty much just came out. All I hear is, "You keep putting your hands on me." I'm like, who, the baby? I'm in my bedroom. I come downstairs and I see him with his hands in a choking motion around her neck, squeezing, while she's got my 5-month-old great nephew in her hands. So I'm already, for educated purposes,
I'm just saying.
Barely, but it was like, I'm already mad at her, but then I'm like, y'all have no respect for this child. So dude tries to leave, and then when I grabbed him, man, that was a good suplex too. But it was, as my nephew said, that was the greatest, most spectacular ass whooping he said he saw in his life for 7 minutes. My niece gets up on the phone, and the whole district comes there because she said, and I quote, when I heard the playback, my uncle's fighting my child's father, and he's a police officer. So of course they're sending the whole damn district. And then I look at her and I'll be like, sit down, we're gonna talk. Did I not say do not invite anybody in my house without permission? What if I was asleep? What if I wasn't there?
Right.
Was there any way that you were gonna overpower that dude? Did you have any? And I tell people all the time, there's 3 things that make a great leader.
I want to get some other people in here, Charles.
I'm about to finish off with this one. There's 3 things: accountability, responsibility, and foresight. And a lot of these modern women do not have the foresight to see what their actions will do and have repercussions of. And I'm gonna end off there.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and work AB in here. What's good with you, AB?
Hey, what's going on, Dr. T? Believe it or not, I actually watched most of this video in its context a few hours before this live stream, actually.
Okay.
And I'm with Marcus. I didn't even see the punch, but you could tell he got him. I didn't see the other angle where it actually shows the punch, but you could tell you could tell he nailed him. Just by the motion, by the way that dude got up, he nailed him. And I'm not gonna lie, it was very satisfying. That was clearly a sucker punch. And let's not get it twisted. I will never be against a father defending his daughter, but he deserved exactly what he got. And the title of the video is proper. This is Gynocracy in work. Me personally, especially now, I understand Blueface is a little younger, but especially now, I would have left a long time ago because I could see where it going. The way where a family was gathered around and stuff, I saw what that was going. I can see where it's going.
Yeah, and he could too. But I agree.
But to be fair, he did have good restraint. He didn't, like you said, didn't raise his voice. You guys actually pointed out some stuff I didn't even realize. I didn't realize the father said that, I put my hands on a woman because she was, I was like, oh, wow. He confessed to that. He's still going to get in this dude's face like that? Okay. You still gonna tell this dude to take it? Okay.
Mm.
So I don't feel sorry for him getting knocked out like that whatsoever.
Okay.
It needs to happen more often because I think everybody on that, all our family in that video should be outed. So brothers will know not to date anybody in that family.
You know, I would say, as far as this is concerned, were I the father of a daughter in this situation, I would have had to sit down with both of them. You know, because of course, as a father, you got an impulse to protect your child. There's no question about that. But if you're a father of a daughter and she is chosen to be with this man, and she continues to, I mean, you saw him, she was standing in front of him against her family, right? That's a choice. That is a hard choice. If that's what's going on, and she's initiating violence regularly, then, you know, that's a different conversation. That's a whole different thing from a woman that hasn't engaged in any of that and is being arbitrarily beaten. That's a whole different conversation. In that scenario, I'm coming into it with a different fire. But if I know what the situation is, I'm sitting down with both of them and having a conversation. The way the father approached that it didn't work. That wasn't the best way to approach that. But let me work in. So we had Wrench Turner come through. Wrench Turner, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? How y'all brothers doing?
Are we good, man? What's up with
going
you?
on, Wrench?
Brother, if I could be like y'all when I grow up, I'll be all right.
Hey, go ahead and weigh in on this, and then we're gonna head to Ghostface and Ra after you. So give us your thoughts on this.
Yeah, man. First of all, appreciate all that you do for the brothers, man, and giving everybody a voice. Shout out to all other brothers on the panel, brothers in the chat. I had one situation where I had to put my hands on a woman, man, and it was the mother of my children. And the only reason why I didn't go to jail for it is because a friend of mine who's actually a police officer was there when it happened. But the way this thing came about was been working all day and came home to an orphan in the house. And my neighbor was a police officer in the city that we lived in. And I said, you know, she of course, she came up in the system and she was like, we're not calling the police. I'm not going to let them take him. I was like, bro, we're going to call Nate. He's going to come down there and he's going to let us know what's the best course of action. So he came down and said, hey, you know, I'm a police officer. I got to report it. And the minute he did that, she flew off the handle. Excuse me, she flew off the handle. And he was like, man, don't say nothing to her. So I walked out onto the patio and she was kind of outside making a fuss. And by this time, you know, she's saying everything under, you know, calling me everything but a child of God. And I finally said, BF you. You know what I mean? Now, keep in mind, I'm on the patio. She's outside there, man. She runs back into the apartment. And he's in between us. And I'm a big guy, right? And, you know, he's in between us. And you know, she's trying to swing. And I'm kind of just standing back, you know, shaking my head. And she grabs a vase off of the, he actually turns his back towards her. And he's kind of restraining me because we both lie out, you know what I mean? She grabs a vase off the table and I grabbed him and threw him past the coffee table and onto one of the love seats. And this all happened, man, so fast because my intention was never to put my hands on it, but it happened, you know, your instincts kick in. When I threw him past the coffee table, he hit one of the love seats, it rolled over and I hit her so quick that she fell before the vase did, you know what I mean? And I felt bad about that, man, for a pretty good while, because I had never put my hands on the female. I grew up like many of the brothers in the chat, many of you brothers, you taught to never, you know what I mean, put your hands on a woman. But that really stuck with me as far as, like I said, I felt bad about it, but I never had to worry about, her getting in my face again. Long story short. The next piece, I taught my son and my daughter a valuable lesson. They're a year apart, and I heard a screech from the kids' room one day, and this is when they were younger. I think my son may have been 6, my daughter may have been 7. I heard a loud screech from the room, and I said, "Hey, what was that?" My son came out and said, "Hey, she slapped me," and I brought her in the living room, right? And I asked her, I said, "Hey, what happened?" I said, "Why did you slap him?" And she literally shrugged her shoulders and said, "I don't know."
Wow. Yeah.
So I said, okay. I said, all right. I told my son, I said, let me see your face. I said, you're not hurt. I said, now you slap her. And she looked at me like, what? And my son slapped the fire out of her. And she started screaming. And I said, now let me explain something to you. I said, if you don't want a boy hitting you, and you remember this, and I told her this, remember this, if you don't want a boy putting his hands on you, you don't put your hands on him. To this day, my daughter has a healthy respect for the power of men and boys. You know what I mean? As hard-headed as she can be, that's one of the things that she definitely knows that, hey, I'm not gonna get in the middle of nothing that has any kind of situation where men and boys, any kind of altercation, she gonna go the opposite direction. But what I learned after the fact was she had a teacher, old black lady, who was really drilling, this is in elementary school, who was drilling this feminist ideology into the girls in her class. This old lady told me, make sure that she knew I had a son too. She told me, she said, make sure you get your daughter. She said, your daughter's really, really smart. Make sure that you get her. And then she gave me a list. She had it printed out. She gave me a list of these different programs that were all centered around girls. Never mentioned anything for the boys.
Right.
But my common sense always told me, because I lean a lot more conservative, right? But my common sense always told me my kids were always in combat sports. I was a coach on my son's football team, and I made sure that I reinforced that masculinity in them, to the point now to where my son's mother, he'll stand up to her in a minute. And he's not disrespectful, but if she says something that he doesn't agree with, he's gonna speak his opinion. He's gonna make sure he maintain that respect. But he has a really, he can stand his ground as it relates to his mom, and she hates it. And she'll tell him, "You just like your dad." And whenever he tells me about these interactions, I say, "Hey, son, that's good. Don't never lose it. Don't never lose that." So I'll land my plane there, brother.
Wow. Okay. Let's have Ghostface weigh in on this. Ghostface, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent. First, I want to say shout out to the brother Blueface. Didn't know the brother was so, I guess you could say admirable. Thankful for how the brother held his own. The brother did well to some degree. But I do have a story, like everybody else. Of course, my sister. Shout out to my sister. The father of her children, and they had a domestic issue, a dispute. Now, the thing is, with her situation it's a bit different, because I have 3 other brothers, of course, and my dad was alive at the time. So, of course, my dad didn't like him, and we all knew that they had issues in their relationship and they fought, etc., etc. Now, the difference is in the situation with us and Blueface is that my sister's baby daddy, he played himself, because we was trying to tell him, hey, look, man, we're not on her side. We're not trying to, we understand the situation. Whatever y'all got, that's between y'all. But he wanted to be a tough guy. But of course, he was raised by a single mother. Of course, he was raised in the house with a lot of women. And so we're just trying to tell him, bro, look, we don't understand. We don't care about your situation. We not with that. Whatever y'all got going on, just as long as y'all keep that amongst yourselves. His mess up was trying to bully, trying to be like, oh, well, all y'all is this, that, and third, calling us out. And like, okay, we just like, man, we really don't want to hurt this dude. But we had to make him a believer. We had to make him a believer. We did not want to put hands and feet on this guy, because we did not want to get into their situation. We did not want to do that. Like, that's the only situation that I can say that was justified as far as like a domestic dispute. Now, me, I'm married and I have 2 daughters, and I teach my daughters, don't put your hands on a man you know better than this, because that man is stronger than you. Don't you ever put your hands on a man unless it's for self-defense. And I do mean real self-defense. Not you initiating an argument or a fight, and then come around and expect us or me to come and do something about it. No, that's not self-defense. That's being a bully. So I teach her not to bully, not to see. Women are taught to bully men. In the Gynocracy, they're taught that no matter what, men are supposed to lay down and take this abuse from these women. It's almost as if they, especially black men, it's almost as if they want black men the only thing you can do to them is not even just take it, just hey, die. If you can do that for us, if you can just lay there and die, trust me, you're better off dead. A black man is worth more dead. He's more valuable dead than alive. So if you can do that for us, shout out to Black Lives Matter. Exactly.
Damn.
But yeah, man. And the thing is about this, I also wanted to bring up. I thought black men didn't protect black women. I thought black men didn't protect black women. What do you see these black men doing? All these black men, these of course they're simps and betas, of course, but this whole narrative that black men don't protect women, that's BS. That's BS, man.
Yeah, overprotected.
Way too much. I know, right? And so, I just have a problem with that narrative, and I think a lot of black men, because we constantly inundated with this whole idea that we don't protect our women, we tend to go over, above, and beyond to try and prove our loyalty to a group of people who don't really care about us like that.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
But I land my plane with that, guys.
All right. Well, let's get Ra Heru in here. Ra, can you hear us? Ra Heru, can you hear us?
Yeah, here. Am I coming through?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thanks, brothers. This is Ra Heru at World Passport Bros, and my situation is a little bit different, and I want the brothers to keep this in mind. I'll keep it short and sweet. My brother and I were brought up in a very toxic household, with my mother being very domineering, and I had used the term bullying as well. So throughout going through junior high, high school, I had many altercations with black women, and it stemmed, the net result was I didn't have the ability to fight back. I felt paralyzed and fearful. So years later, I went through therapy to deal with the household toxic issue, and I talked about how my mother would beat us repeatedly and call us names and then yell at the top of her voice, and it was traumatizing and terrorizing. And the therapist and I kind of worked it out that I was afraid to hit black women back, even though they would hit me, because of the bullying from my mother. And the beatings that we endured. And I remember one in particular when this sister had hit me, and I was very young at the time, and I think junior high. And then my mother said, I'm tired of you not hitting these women back. When you get home, I'm gonna give you a beating, and you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna hit the girl back or get a beating from me. So, we can't rule out that a lot of these brothers are being raised in households where the matriarch is just toxic, and what they tend to do is they emasculate the brothers at a very young age. So I just wanted to bring that story up, and then a quick one. I went on a date with this sister, and we went to a movie theater, and we're sitting down. And all of a sudden she gets up and stands up and turns around and starts yelling at this guy in the back. And she then looks at me, and I'm like, what's going on? And she gets upset because I'm not defending her, because the guy apparently was kicking her seat. I had no idea that this was going on. And she went from like 0 to 10, I'm like, whoa, couldn't you just ask him not to kick your seat? Would you have to jump up and make a scene? So I went to the bathroom and never came back.
Damn. Okay. Okay. Wow. I didn't see that one coming. All right. So any other responses to this? What we're dealing with? Because the question on the table really comes down to how does this continue to impact Black men, and what can be done about it? What options do men have in response to this? And I think we lost Officer Charles. I was hoping to get him to weigh in on the legal side, but you know, when you have brothers who find themselves in a situation where they're being pushed, you know, to operate like an attack dog, what options would you all suggest to them, you know, as far as this is concerned? Okay, we got Officer Charles back in. What options would you suggest to men who find themselves being used to attack other men on behalf of her?
You want him to go first, or you want? Because I was going to say,
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Things. Okay, so I think it was Ghostface. I think you mentioned a situation with your sister or whatever. Right? Was that you? Okay, I had a very similar situation. Is not that long ago. When my sister was going through it with her son's father. My situation was a little different from yours, where, okay, well, you know, I called the guy up, and you know, because my mother had called me, and then my sisters all told me their sides of the story. So, you know, I mean, you know, they've always had issues, and like I think you also said, you tend to stay out of their issues. I got 3 sisters. I don't get involved with their nonsense unless it's like another level. But your everyday, you going back and forth with your dude, y'all fighting, that ain't none of my business. So, you know, and I'm gonna tell the story to answer the Doc's question. This is what I'm suggesting for men, right? On the attack dog side, right? And then I'll get to the other side. I called the guy up, and he knows who I am. He knows me. And I called him on some BS, because he said to one of them, he said, I don't care if you get your brother, blah, 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 blah. So I like, okay. So now he's kind of invoked me. So I call him up and I say, hey, look, bro, what's going on? And he tells me his side of the story. The thing about when I approach these things, I always try to keep in mind that if this was me, you understand what I'm saying? This is my youngest sister's son's father. Now, with all the things that we taught, and it goes back to the video we just watched where dude kind of contradicted himself. He said, you know, I put my hands on women because they were being disrespectful, but you can't do it because this is my daughter, right? This is my youngest sister's son's father. And with all the stuff that we talk about on here, I would be very much a hypocrite if I approach this man like his relationship with his son doesn't matter, because it was an issue. Like, my sister moved out here, and of course he took an issue with that. My position was, you're taking this man's son across the country. My sisters live in Baltimore. Okay, they live in Baltimore, and she decided to move to Vegas, and
I feel your pain.
I used to stay in Baltimore myself, but yeah, you're taking this man's kid out of his life. So I'm supposed to on him for you, but if this was me, so I called him up and I say, yo, bro, you know, he didn't bark at me or nothing like that, like what you said, Ghostface, your guy did with you, you know, because that wouldn't have went well for him, because I called him to see if I had to show up or not. And he said, look, man. And he explained his side of the story to me. And I said, okay, I get it. But I said, do me one favor, because him and my mother was going out. I said, leave my mother out of this, because you're in a relationship or you got a kid with my sister. Leave my mother out of it. But then he told me
about that. Go ahead.
Then he told me that my mother involved herself. Right? My mother involved that she stepped outside and they had their exchange. And I know they have their exchange. And you know, I know they say crazy stuff to each other. I don't care about words. Right? But when I heard that, okay, I had to call my mother and I said, he said that you came outside and y'all had a shouting match and you engaged him. I said, listen, man, I don't live in Baltimore. There's no teleportation device that's going to get me there to save you. Now, my older sister was much less reasonable than this, and I hung up the phone on her. Nonsense. You know, you're the man and blah, click, get out of here. I ain't trying to hear none of that. All right. There's no teleportation device is going to give me. If this dude decides in that moment to put hands on you, then you got his hands on you. I said, do me the favor. Don't put me in a situation where I got to come down there and deal with and get arrested by Mr. Charles Faulkner. You understand what I'm saying? Call the police or something if it's an issue. Right? Right.
Let me just add real quick though, two things. One, what you were doing was protecting. You know what I mean? That's you know, protection is preemptive. It doesn't happen after the fact. It happens before. The best protection is to not have those you love in a vulnerable situation in the first place.
It's funny you point that out because this story didn't go well in Clubhouse. And Clubhouse is a bastion,
yes,
of over the top, shea butter feminists, right? So, you know, I told that story. Oh my God, you have no respect for your mother. How are you going to tell her that?
Right.
Because I'm supposed to. I said, listen, what you guys don't understand is I'm not there.
Right.
So I can avenge my mother, but I can't protect her because I'm not there. Right. So what I'm trying to do is tell her, don't do the things that might get you hurt. I can do whatever after the fact, but it is after the fact.
Exactly.
Right. And I want guys to understand this, right? You know, and again, to further expand on your question, and I noticed that I forget which one of you guys, it might have been Wrench, like you felt bad about defending yourself, man. You know, in my house growing up, my older sister, when we were small, me and my brother, she would hit on us, and I couldn't defend myself against her when I was too small, and I couldn't go to my mother to make her stop. When I got old enough to physically overcome my sister, that's when my mother got involved to stop me.
To stop
stop me.
Right.
So, you know, dealing with that, and even in school, let me tell you something, bro. And I'm probably one of the few people in this space or in public on a microphone that will say this out loud. I have no problem putting hands on females if they put hands on me first. And I don't have a problem saying it out loud. And I have no guilt about it at all. I have seen the worst of the worst, bro.
Yep.
I have no problems with this. Right.
Well,
so
even
I think just one more thing. Get over that. You guys have to get over that. Break that. Get over that. You are human, and you don't deserve to be abused. And it's sad that I'm saying this to men.
Right. That's where we are. Yeah. But I wanted to add the second thing, and then I'll let AB jump in. The second thing I was going to say about your situation is when you quoted your older sister.
Right.
She said, "You're the man."
Right.
What that clearly meant, because I talk about what I call the Gynopotestal family, what other brothers colloquially call a coven. You have a family that's led by women. Often the men are trained to be attack dogs. You're not allowed to provide protection from the vantage point of an authoritative male who's saying, no, we're not going to go here in the first place. This is how we're going to handle the situation. You're not allowed to do that. Your only protection, even when you're a boy, remember when women used to say you're the man of the house?
Right.
I came to find when I was a boy, what that really meant was you're the man when she tells you you're the man to go do what she tells you to do.
Yep.
Right.
Not the man when you actually tell everybody this is how this is going to go down preemptively to prevent the situation from getting out of hand. You're the man when it comes to her pointing the finger at who you need to attack. So when your sister said that, what I heard was, you're out of your place. Marcus, you're out of your place. You're not operating the way you're supposed to. You're supposed to attack when we say attack and shut up otherwise.
And sometimes it's don't attack when they say don't attack, because I've been in situations where my sisters get into issues with whatever dude they was with at the time. And then I'm coming and it's okay.
It's okay now. Right.
Yeah, it's okay now. Nah, it's all right.
Right.
So I'm supposed to turn it on, turn it off.
At her whim. You're not self-directed. You don't make these observations and determinations yourself. You operate as a mindless drone at her whim. And that's the only acceptable position.
Right.
And I'm urging fellows to rethink that position, speak up, make your own determinations. And if you got to be like Patrice O'Neal and turn around and walk off in the middle of the conversation, where she has to kind of have a wake-up moment about, well, how bad am I really if he's not standing behind me at 6'4", 300 pounds?
No, Doc, you're supposed to be like, yes, master.
Frankenstein.
I'm on my way, master.
Right.
I got the strap, master. Like, you're not supposed to be a thinking man. You're not supposed to be a sentient being. You're supposed to be a tool to be used.
Right. Absolutely. I think I cut AB off. AB, jump in and make your reflection. What were you going to say?
We're gonna have to tell dudes to, fortunately for me, I've had chicks try to yell at me like that. Like these chicks were trying to yell at me in areas like when I'm in the store and stuff. Fortunately, I just have I can give them that look on my face. I don't have to do anything. They'll just slowly back off and realize they're messing with the wrong person. I'm just saying. Now, when I was in high school, be honest with you, Dr. T, I lost count how many times I got hit by a girl. I've also lost count how many times I've been groped by a girl in high school. I lost count of it. And one time I did hit back. I got naturally I got in trouble for it. So, I just like what you do your best to avoid them. These boys nowadays, they can hit. These girls can hit them if they want to. That's on you.
Well, when you spend 20 years using cartoons and movies and stories to tell boys that not only are they inherently toxic,
right,
girls are stronger, better, more capable, and more inherently pure. If you provide this narrative long enough, the young boys after a while are going to be like, well, not only do I not have to worry about not responding, but she's tougher than me, so whatever. The rules go out the door. You can't be super tough in your face, beat any man up and kick him through walls, no matter how big or tall or well trained he is. You can't be that and then turn around and require feminine, chivalry. It doesn't. The two don't jive. They don't work.
And let's not get it twisted. I grew up on the chivalry code, but I'm at the point now. I will apply the chivalry code when she acts like a lady. But if she's gonna square up like a dude, okay. I'm at the point now, even for one of my female cousins, you square up with a dude like a dude, I'm not gonna help you.
Yeah, can I respond to? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, brother.
I got a little female cousin like to hit on people, and I'm just like, okay. I was like, okay, you roll up on the wrong one. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you good, brother. Just to respond to Brother Marcus Aurelius, that if you recall, I said felt. I felt. I didn't say I feel bad. I felt bad. If the internet has shown us anything, brother, is that we are definitely in a time and age where I believe in equal rights and lefts. You know what I mean? If I'm put in a situation where I got to protect myself, man, or protect property or anything like that, then it's go time across the board. Because what can happen is I've seen women hit brothers with foreign objects, right, and do serious damage to them. So and granted at 39, I think I was maybe 23, 22, 23, and I was going through that situation with the kid's mother. But yeah, I've evolved with the times, brother.
And just to
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask something. Did she get arrested for that?
Yeah, she got arrested.
Okay, I was going to ask because
going to jail now.
Yeah, because when you said she went for the vase and you pushed the officer out of the way, I was like, well, you was actually kind of saving her, because if she had hit that officer, that's, Charles can correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that automatically assault the police officer?
Bro, and that's what he said too. He said, bro, I didn't even see that coming.
So so let me clarify. The reason I said what I said the way I said it is because now I heard you say that you felt that way, but when you were telling the story, it kind of sort of came across like when you said it was the only time I ever had a woman, right? It's the only time, and you said it quite a few times, right?
Yeah.
It almost, and don't take it no way, it almost felt like you were apologizing for doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So so understand that. I mean, in like you said, we've all grown up getting taught this stuff. A lot of things that we're doing is kind of like, you know, subconscious. So like, even though you might not realize that you might have come across that way, understand, because you know we know that even in these sorts of conversations, while we're telling each other, you know, defend yourself and everything like that, you know, even what I'm saying, somebody that's hearing me saying it is not feeling me, and we're aware of that. Like if I say, hey, I don't have a problem defending myself against women, right? Now, of course, I contextualized it as defending myself. I don't bully anybody. I had a situation, I ain't gonna tell the whole story, where I got into it with a guy that's much smaller than me, and he was popping off, and I could have just went and it would have been over. But I didn't. I told him, hey, bro, you know, we brothers, and he like, F that. This is in Harlem, right? I walked away from that. It was a little dude with his woman. I didn't even want to beat up the little guy. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, it's not even that. It's, again, he wasn't attacking me. He was just talking. So a woman could talk, a man could talk. I'm not going to punish a man for running his mouth if I wouldn't punish a woman. Now, of course, I tell people there's things you can say that'll get you touched. So this thing, another thing is, well, you know, no matter what she's saying, because there's things that a man can say that'll get them touched, and there's the line you can cross with your mouth. That applies to everybody. And again, like I try to give off that energy, like I do not apologize for none of it. Women can hit anybody they want. They could beat us up. They could beat up children. They beat up the most children. They beat up each other. And we just freed Brittany Griner, domestic violence offender. And we applauded that.
And guess who has the most domestic violence?
Right.
Lesbian couple.
Two women. I just did a short about it.
In the words of that Prophet L. Bundy, women understand each other. That's why they hate each other.
Just did a short about it. Just did it. Women hate each other. But
I am of the mind, if you find yourself in an altercation or something that's about to lead up to it, I'm a big advocate of recording. I'm a big advocate of, you know, especially if it's in your space, letting people know they need to go.
Right.
I have even though it is dangerous, if it gets to the point where if the person won't leave, you got to call the police. With video in hand, I'm an advocate of that. They try to get physical. I do believe in self-defense, but you know, before I'm throwing blows necessarily, I'm more likely to put you on the porch like Dino and the Flintstones. I mean, I will pick you up, walk you to the porch, put you there, and I've been here before.
Hey, Doc, just put your palm to the screen real quick and look at those bear paws you got. Ain't nobody coming to your house with all them goddamn soldiers in the background.
You know damn well.
This man look like the Revenant. Axe that could challenge Bo there, and he got the sword of focus. Right.
But again, it comes down to when you're dealing with women who have been socialized to believe that there are no repercussions for their actions. You know, we've all seen this 6'4" bodybuilder, and he got a woman 5'4", and she the first one to be throwing hands and acting a fool. And you're looking at her like, are you serious? But she doesn't believe there are going to be any repercussions.
Right. No, you gotta understand, Doc, when you go to scenes like this, the woman might call the police first because, you know, men underrepresent when it comes to domestic violence reporting. And she's supposed to be the victim, but she's jumping up in the dude's face. And he ain't gonna do this because in a woman's mind, if you push her away, that's assault. And by the way, for the person who says, well, no, that's battery. There is no battery charge in the state of Maryland. I think I know what I'm talking about. And by the way, it's like this. Like, you'll see women come up there. I had a woman who thought it was okay to take her niece out of school. And because the daughter didn't want to listen to the mom. I said, yeah, it's nice that you're the aunt, but the mother, overrides you. She outranks you. This lady had the audacity to grab me, and she's like 5'3". And I'm looking at her. And you remember that old Incredible Hulk, like with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, where the eyes just turn green? I'm like, why are you grabbing me? I'm escorting, and she wanted to get physical. So, I did what every logical cop would do. Grab her by her collar, throw her in the closet, and close the door. And she runs out there, swinging behind me, hitting my shoulder.
Ooh.
And next thing you know, you throw her 10 feet across, like you arrest her ass. And you like, chick, I'm being nice with you. I'm really being nice with you.
Right.
And she's like, no, I'm gonna fight. I said, I'm gonna tell you what. So I put my fist right next to her face. I said, if I hit you with this, I'm gonna break something on you. Stop. And she came back to her senses, even though she tried to sue me for police brutality, and they were showing the body cam footage of what she was doing. And she said, I drop charges. And I tell you, these women have no repercussion. I never understood this concept. How are you the weaker sex, but you don't understand self-preservation?
Sense of danger. That's what drives me crazy. Like
the greatest job, and I'm glad you said that, AB, because the greatest job men ever have since we've been put on here is protecting women from themselves. Number one, protecting women from protecting children from the women, because if you notice, you're 5 times more likely to be in an abusive situation. And then 2, a lot of times you protected women from themselves. Like, they have no sense of danger or no sense of, like, I had a chick who had dated chick who was a police officer with 2 4-year degrees. She didn't know that you're not supposed to eat any part of the bread that's moldy.
Okay.
She was
you mean like the woman that didn't know you ain't supposed to put Gorilla Glue in your hair? That too? Saving them from themselves.
Yeah, like it's sad because I even had to calm down female police officers. I said, yeah, you got a gun and a badge, but you talking real McSheisty to that dude who's like 3 times bigger than you. And I'm going to ask you this question. Like, I had a young lady on my show. How many women would join the military, the police, and the fire department if men never joined? Zero.
Crickets.
I said, I don't see women volunteering. You didn't see the women in Ukraine volunteering to stay and fight for their country.
They wanted to be on that train.
Straight up.
They got a midnight train to Georgia.
But let me ask this question though, and especially since I have a police officer here. So I'm a huge advocate of black men in particular, avoiding violence, especially as it pertains to women. We can't rely on a just outcome. I'm an advocate of video, but tell me, Officer Faulkner, you show up to a domestic violence call, an intimate partner violence call, and the man is calm. He's looking people in the eye. He's communicating clearly. He explains the story to you and shows you video. Do you have a different response than otherwise?
I'm going to be fair when I say this statement. I used to think, in the Simp Chronicles, when I first joined the department, that all these men are beating up on these women. Till I had to recollect and had to realize, do you have any damn dainty women in your family? The answer is no.
Right.
Including my mother. And I had to become a better investigator, because the one thing you learn about investigating anything, look for what does not make sense. The number one thing that didn't make sense, how the hell you call us saying you're scared, but you all up in this guy's face? that does not compute.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this: the smartest thing you could do is get video, like Doc said, and then learn to fall out. She hit me. Guess what? She goes to jail. We had an incident, right, where we were like having a family dispute. And this is how quick domestic violence can happen. We're here yelling across the street. And this was a well-to-do family, well-to-do black family. The wife looked at the husband's phone and thought it was a lady calling when it was a client. So she took a brass lamp and cracked him while he was laying down in the bed. It looked like a horror movie.
Wow.
Because it was straight, no blocking, straight in the face, unprovoked. And she's coming out there, I want him arrested. And we grabbed her up and she's in her little nightgown. No, ma'am. And this is somebody in their 50s. This man is he's living in a house that's worth $1 million. So so it goes for that. So it's contrary to saying if you make enough money that these women will submit. No, they will not. So she literally thought, and this is not a call over the radio, this is what they call on view, because it just happened right in front of us. Like they were laying down, he walked out, I guess he must have seen us, split lip, busted nose. I mean, blood running like a faucet. And she thought that he needed to be arrested because she thought he was cheating.
Wow.
And so she took it upon herself to commit violence, aggravated assault against this man, could have killed him because he wasn't even conscious to defend himself. And this is the behavior of our women. This is the culture. This is the default setting, if you will. And she got arrested. And I'm looking at it and she was shocked. Like she had that, Brittany Griner look when that 9-year sentence was issued out from the courts in Russia. Eyes so bucked that you could see the back of her brainstem, man. And I mean, this is what you got to do. You got to really protect yourself. And I'm gonna say this to a lot of men: the moment you see, and I do mean the moment you see any type of outburst while y'all dating or just getting to know each other, leave. It's over. I don't care how pretty, I don't care how big her ass is.
Thank you.
What did they tell her? Her old wise man tell you, don't trust the big button and smile.
If I may say this,
I'm just gonna end off with this, and I'm gonna say this. Look, if she gives you any implications that she's somebody who's out to start conflict instead of just walking away, end it all and get away from it, because the juice is not worth the squeeze. Go ahead, brother.
I was going to say this because a lot of brothers were saying that if you build an infrastructure, the women will submit to you. But that's not true. I've been to many countries that are very, they especially after COVID, there's a lot of poverty. And what I noticed about it is that the women coming from this type of culture have always, they've been submissive, they've been feminine. I have never seen an instance of a woman in another country jumping up in her man's face, spitting in his face, disrespecting him, like zero. This country is the only country where I've seen women take such liberties, and it defies logic in a sense. Like, are they watching like Xena Warrior Princess too much? Like, what's getting them?
That's Western culture.
Forever.
Yep,
well, you got to think about it. There are very heavy penalties in the third world country that if you go against your men. Number one, starvation.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Number two, quick and decisive violence
by your own family.
And guess what? If it's a good man and he's respected, your family will come against you.
Yeah.
Because women in the third world, I hate to say it, but there's the reason why you go to third world countries and they want to marry you off so quick, because women become burdens. I can't put you to work like I could put the boys. You get pregnant, you bring in another extra mouth to feed.
Yeah.
So, in other words, these women don't understand how it feels to be in survival mode. But oh boy, a wise man named Kevin Samuel said it best. Winter's coming, and outside it looked like Bobby Drake and Sub-Zero having a snow fight.
So let me. I'm gonna add to that when you're done.
Obstacles to getting some type of change is the buffer, the simps, because they're caping for these women, and many times they could be just as much of a threat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
So just to respond to some of what you said, yeah, these other countries, and Charles already said it. The biggest issue is starvation and homelessness, and deathly poverty. I've been to some of these places. There ain't no child support. All the stuff that we have here that makes women feel safe. See, the society that men have built have kind of rendered them obsolete at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where these women are comfortable enough to say they don't need us, and when they can fight us and they can get the police, or they can, abandon the idea of the family and the state, or the society will rescue them. It will sponsor every choice they make.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you've basically spared the rod and you spoiled the child.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So go ahead.
Let me ask you this though. On that same point, I totally understand what you're saying, but when we look at the data, white women, Latino women are not doing it to the degree of ADOS women. So we have to ask ourselves, what's different with these?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna address that. You can't deny Black women access to nothing. Okay, so let's talk about white women for a second. Who overturned Roe v. Wade? Wasn't us, right? Understand that white men are the face of authority here. Black women don't do these things to white men. When you go to these other countries, these third world countries, whether it be DR, Colombia, who are the police? Who are the firemen? Who are the politicians? They're Colombians. You go to DR, they're Dominicans. The authority figures look like the citizens. The difference here is we aren't the face of authority here.
Oh, good point.
We aren't the patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. We aren't the face of authority here. So imagine, right? You work somewhere and you got a female co-worker and then y'all got a boss. In essence, we are co-workers. The Black women don't see us as authority figures. They don't see us as anything they need to respect, and they see how the boss treats us. Right? So there's nothing that we can give them access to or deny access to where they have to respect us. White men can do that with their women. Right? Now, if you want to talk about Latino women or whatever, they come from that culture. Now, Americanized this and that. You might have a little bit of that, but we've been here the longest and we've been dealing with that the longest. And we are basically Black men are basically the guy that got robbed in front of his woman in the alley and had the gun in his face and couldn't do nothing. And the thief took a wedding ring or her engagement ring and, baby, why you ain't do nothing? Because the gun was in my face. But that's reasonable, but she has an unreasonable expectation of protection from you, right? So all of those things added together is why our situation is unique, and that didn't happen to the Asian man, that didn't happen to the Latino man, that didn't happen to none of these other men. It happened to us, all right? So again, we ain't the face of power here, and they know that, even though every other week they'll say that we're somehow subjugating or oppressing them in some manner. We didn't give them low wages. We didn't do none of this stuff. So
But you know, there's another, and after I say this, I'm going to want people to kind of go through their closing statements, and we'll start with Ghostface and then Ra, and I'll count you off from there. But I also want to put this in context too. We are probably the only people in this country, at the very least, that don't come from an organic peopling. In other words, where you don't have to really question if you guys come from the same context. As you know, as a group that went through enslavement the way we did, the majority of those that were here first, who were brought into servitude, brought into enslavement, you know, into North America most particularly, we came from different parts of West Africa, you know, West to Central Africa. We were, you know, kind of picked and whatnot, but we were the majority. The men were the majority of the focus until the early 1800s. I don't know who's got that. You might want to mute that, but we only had, so it's only been, they didn't really start bringing black women in serious numbers until about 60 years before the formal end of slavery. And we're coming from different parts of the continent, different parts of the Western hemisphere, the Western side of the continent. So we were kind of put together, and we were said, you know, it was said, okay, you guys are this is the context. These are your women, as it were. These are your men. There's no other group that really shares that kind of history, where this is the beginning of your peopling. Now, to say that a people come from a continent, that really doesn't make a lot of sense, because Africans didn't see themselves as a continent. They didn't even call themselves Africans, you know what I'm saying, in terms of that, as some collective identity, right? And if you go to Africa today, they don't really talk about themselves as Africans. They talk about themselves in the context of where they are. So we have a very different kind of peoplehood that starts with an institution that we didn't control and had no power in any formal sense. That's a beginning point. When you start to ask these questions, why do they see us this way? Why do they treat us this way? When you go to the origins of it, we don't have an organic peopling. We start as almost, you know, an obligatory peopling that comes out of a context, but it's not a natural organic development. You just can't take people from different parts of a continent, slap them together, and say, oh, by the way, you're a people. It doesn't work that way. And that's one of the things we've been grappling with, alongside the policies that have been created since slavery, not after, during enslavement, where these policies granted different options in terms of access to men and women. It created an entirely different dynamic. The men and women don't relate to each other in the same way. We don't share the same exact experience. And to this day, women do not understand the difference in how men live, unless the closest I've seen is when they have sons. They have sons and they see the difference, especially if they had a daughter or whatever. When they see the difference on how the boys are treated and what the boys go through, those tend to be the women that come to my channel. Those tend to be the women that talk about the differences because they witnessed it. But other than that, I found it to be very difficult. And you got to argue back and forth, you know, for the whole idea that black men don't live the same life. We have this flat blackness thing where women will say, well, I'm black, I experienced racism, therefore there's nothing black men go through that I don't. That's not how that is. That's not how we experience it.
With Dr. Johnson, I also think there's a level of selfishness and egotism that is coupled with that. I think to some degree they know, but they don't know, and there is a pushback on trying to learn and understand.
Mm-hmm. Huh? Oh, did we lose somebody?
Charles.
Oh, it's Charles. Yeah. Okay. So let me go ahead, and we're gonna start with Ghostface. I want you to give your closing thoughts, then we'll go to Ra, and then Wrench Turner. Give us your closing thoughts for today.
Okay, how's everybody doing? Just want to weigh in on everybody said a lot of things. Brothers made a lot of great points. But to speak to your point, as far as like the slavery thing, you had the Willie Lynch letters, of course. That plays an intricate part to how our women view us. There's certain things written in that book that was specifically mapped out to have our women view us in a certain light. However, even after that, right? Even after slavery, even after we've been through all of these things, black men and women still had a certain level of to some degree respect for each other, because you had all throughout the early 1900s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up until the 60s, really, 1968, into the introduction of feminism, is when it started to get confusing. So I say all that to say this. Before then, we had a code of conduct, at least to some degree. Not as it should have been, but I think we need to get back to that as men, because we saying these things. How do we fix them? How do we fix it? How do we get our women, which I know this is almost an impossibility, to view us as human beings, to view us with a certain level of respect? I think it's not even so much as how we should have them view us, it's so much as how we should view each other. Black men need a code of conduct amongst each other. For example, I've I've seen this video a while back, a couple years back, where this black woman was on a bus. I want to say it was in Philly or somewhere, and she was in an argument with this dude, and I guess I don't know, it was some type of disagreement. But the woman called her son, and he comes up and shoots him and his buddies with AK-47s and assault rifles and shoot the bus.
I remember that.
And shoot up the bus. Now, if this man had, if there was some sort of understanding amongst brethren, right? We would not react so emotional. We would confront, and we would sit down with each other, and before it even gets to that point, like, hey, what's going on, and not worry about how what how she view us, and or how she say jump, like a dog or something to that. All we become to them is the Frankenstein monster. These women don't see us as nothing but as just objects and tools. Hey, come and come take the as personal mercenaries. Do my bidding for me. And if you can't do my bidding for me, now I'm gonna define your manhood, because even though I'm a woman, I'm not even a man. So I'm gonna define whether or not you're a man or not, and that's predicated upon how much you can please me. We got to get away from that, man.
Well,
we have to get away from that.
I can definitely say that the conversations, some of us are trying to use these dialogues online to build a means of communication amongst men. The problem, however, with trying to do that with women is it's even more, kind of difficult to initiate. And so that's one of the things that, what's Charles talking about? What happened with Charles?
He wants the link.
Oh, he wants to. How do you? Okay.
I'll do it. I got it.
I'm gonna send this out. I'm gonna send it out for Charles, but I don't want anyone else to come up because we're actually closing out. And I want Charles to give his closing comments. But I appreciate you, Ghostface, for coming through, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. Let's get Ra. Let's go ahead and get your closing thoughts on this.
I think Black men are going to have to come to an awakening and a hard realization that, as the Dr. John Henry Clark says, we don't have any friends. And when we start seeing these things, it's a reflection of, the outside's a reflection of what's going inside. There's this simp chip within us to where we have allowed these women to use us as attack dogs, to shame us, to define, as Wrench had said, our manhood, so that we go along with their program. And I think it's going to take us walking away. I don't think this is a fixable situation, because they they don't even see themselves as part of the Black community. They see themselves as their own group, and we can witness this by their political activities, the way that even when they go into corporate America, they hire other Black women above Black men. We're going to have to be selfish and learn to walk away from this situation, because this is what I'm saying. You can't fix it, because it has been created by Margaret Sanger. It has been created by white men who are behind this new wave of feminism. So these white men have built an infrastructure that penalizes Black men for no matter what we do, for defending ourselves, for just breathing. And these women, our women know this. And anytime that they use us as attack dogs, they're demonstrating that they don't care about our well-being, our safety.
Right.
So we're going to have to just turn away and say, listen, what's going to work for us? And define ourselves as who we are. Stop allowing them to shame us and guilt us into doing things, and stop trying to appease them, because that doesn't work. And even the stats show that we are the ones that stay in the relationship. We don't file the divorce papers. 80% of divorces are initiated by the woman. We're the ones that want to stay in the relationship, and it's toxic. Our relationship with this woman is toxic on every level.
Right.
We can't fix a situation where you have a hidden hand, a third party that's involved in it, we're siding with them to make sure that we won't be here in the near future. So I want us to think about that, because we have not had a coming to Jesus moment. We have not, as Black men, thought about what we want and started to move in that direction. We've always been so altruistic as to include Black women in that plan, but it's not going to work.
Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming up. Thanks, Rob. Thank you. Here's the thing, though. Because of the nature of how we as a quote unquote people got started, it's almost as arbitrary that Black men form a union as it is the Black community in general. It's going to be a matter of will. It's going to be a matter of will, because we share a condition as Black men. We share a state of being in a certain way in terms of how we're treated in the environment. And the question Black men have to answer is, do we want a brotherhood? And many are debating as to whether or not that's possible. But that's the first question. Do Black men actually want a brotherhood? But on a larger sense, if we're talking about the Black community, it too is an act of will. Will people actually, collaborate? Will women cooperate, or will they continue to see us as something lesser than they? You can't build a peopling on a sense of female superiority. It doesn't work. So the question we're going to have to answer is, do we want that? Let me go ahead and get Wrench Turner to give your closing thoughts, and then we'll go to AB.
Yes, sir. First of all, I appreciate all of the dialogue back and forth across between all of us brothers. What I would say is, I switched my picture, if y'all can see that. I'm not a small guy, right? Mm-hmm. That's when I was a nightclub bouncer for years, and the most violent people I came across were Black women. What I would say to a lot of brothers is, I've done a lot of work over the years to price myself right up out of those kind of interactions. The spaces that I go to, a lot of them aren't there. In worst case scenario, if I do get in a situation where it has to be altercation, then I've done the work to fund a hell of a defense, right? But the goal at the end of the day is to not even be in the same spaces. We have bigger fish to fry than to be trying to go at it with some of these pseudo men. But for all of the brothers, man, like I said, appreciate all of you guys' mind. Appreciate the dialogue back and forth. And as always, man, keep your powder dry, keep your head on the swivel. And the only friend we got in this world looks like all of us that are on this panel. So have an open mind. Make sure you build a strong circle and strong network. And once again, man, for the brothers in the chat, fund this type of content, man. This stuff is, people take their time to put this stuff together, and we have brothers that are in our corner. Fund these guys. I'm actually subscribed to, of course, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. I'm subscribed to You Keep It 100. Sock it to these brothers' pockets, man. Make it worth their while, right? Look out for them, because if we don't do it, I'm 100% sure nobody else is going to. I'll land my plane there.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take it easy, good brother.
Yes, sir. You too, brother.
Let's go to A. We're going to go to AB and then to Officer Faulkner. AB, go ahead and give us your closing thoughts.
As far as this video goes, this has been another wonderful advertisement for SYSBM. And as the brother said before, we really can't fix this problem. It's time to walk away. And as far as the Simpson suckers that want to follow the Gynocracy, I said this before about the Simpson sucker in space. Let the simp fall where they may. Just let them fall for where they may.
Mhm.
I'm out.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming through. Shout out to AB. Y'all go to AB Media, support his channel. Check him out. Officer Faulkner, also known as a man called Falk. Can you hear us? Uh-oh. Charles, can you hear us? Uh-oh. There we go. He's working with his sound. Uh-oh. Dropped out again. All right.
Mess around and jump back in.
Yeah, probably. But time is... Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's try one more time. Charles,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm having an after party, talking about this subject matter. A little bit further, a little bit more, less collegiate. Brothers need to really put themselves on a deserving pedestal, okay?
Mm.
You need to treat yourself of something of value, because obviously the women in our community do not. As soon as you see the inkling, don't try to fix it. Don't try to negotiate with it. Just leave. It's not worth your life. It's not worth your freedom. Yes, protect yourself at all times and all that good stuff, but protection is obedience to the rules. It's obedience. Protection is foresight, seeing what's going to happen down the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to fix a broken person. That's not my job. That's their parents' job. That's their psychiatrist's job. Are they paying you X amount of money for them to sit on your couch and talk to them? No. You don't need to fix a broken woman. If you need to find a woman outside the United States, hey, do what you need to do. If you need to leave them alone altogether, do what you need to do. But put yourself above all. Put yourself in a position of somebody who gives a damn about you. Okay? Because number one, if number one ain't right, you ain't helping 2, 3, and 4. Protect yourself, man. Whoo, I'm out. See you at the after party.
All right, good brother. And there's some he just said that I really want to, I don't know, I'm called to kind of point out. When he talked about fixing a broken woman, there's something in our training to be quote unquote good black men where the idea was that you needed to, fix a woman. You needed to, kind of go above and beyond to belie any stereotype about black maleness, to be some superheroic thing where your job was to fix her and heal her. And look, I'm all for, if you're gonna have a relationship, you're dealing with someone, you deal with each other's issues. I don't have any problem with that. But this idea that as a good black man, your job is to go find a woman and fix her, it will take you your entire life to figure out that you have wasted years. It does not work. And I've known men who have put in decades on that very thing, because many of us, especially Generation X, we were taught that that's what it meant to be a good man. I hope that if any of you are doing that you hear me when I tell you, put that burden down. It is not your responsibility to make someone happy, and you can't fix somebody. And you can be an inspiration. You can support somebody in their journey to heal themselves, but you can't fix somebody. And the more you put years into trying to do this to achieve this generic idea of good man, you're killing yourself slowly and for nothing. So I really do hope that anybody carrying that burden, put it down. Put it down. It doesn't work. And just real quick, shout out. We got some donations in here. Shout out to Pokeman. Shout out to Layman's Journal. Y'all support Layman's Journal's channel. I appreciate you coming through, man. Doing some excellent work over there. So subscribe to his channel. Get that going. Shout out to good brother Wrench Turner, who gave some more support after he stepped out of here. Appreciate that. Shout out to Dardar. T Fitness, what's good with you, man? Hope you're good. And Mr. Shane Vicious. Appreciate that support. We coming to you, Brother Marcus. Closing thoughts on this matter, man. What do you have to tell brothers?
So like
with this,
more gaslighting, more more con games. One of the things people do to keep you in control is, never let you feel accomplished, never let you feel satisfied. Like, what you're saying about, this whole real man thing. It sounds so Pinocchio. Like, I want to be a real boy. Like,
wow.
No matter. Right.
Damn.
Right. Yeah. I want to be a real boy, the velveteen rabbit. Right. So, if you do this, you'll be a real man. And then you do that. Then you do this. Then you do that. And it's like, I think it was Heru. I forgot the guy's name. He said, he's like, if you build it, they were all of these things are a hoax. All of these things, white supremacy, black women, and others have been telling us. White women created feminism, not white men. I just want to clarify that statement. But someone else said in the chat, and they kind of echoed one of my sentiments, is that black women been feminists before the 60s. This hoax of a time that we look back at as the time where black marriages were up and black people got along and yada yada yada, blase blase blah. Understand that black women did not have the options that they currently have, right? So if they did, and I always ask guys this, if the grandmamas and the great grandmas of Black America had the same choices and options that black women today have, would they still be those same women? Because they did what they had to do, the same reason those women in the third world do what they do to survive. There was nowhere for these women to go. They had to be with us. Okay. And Doc, like you said earlier, we didn't come here together. Other ethnicities, other nationalities, other groups of people came here as families, either together or one at a time. They came here as units. They came here as families. People came from Europe. People came from South America, all these other places. They came here as families. They had obligations to each other that was built in. People that come from the East, the Pakistanis, the Muslim, Africans even, they came here as families. We were put together like a boy band.
Like a boy band.
Like a boy band. Hey, this guy can sing. That guy can sing too. Why don't you guys sing together? Oh, Right. So we were put together like a boy band, man. We were assembled. So they were stuck with us. It wasn't a choice. You know what I'm saying? When slavery ended, they had nowhere else to go. And the women who could be with one of these, understand these, and let's not even forget the part where some of these women owned black male slaves, right? They were part of the thing. But getting back to this topic that we started on, women have a different like I've said it before, women have a different relationship with money than men do. So they often take money for granted. They also have a different relationship with violence, right? Physical violence. Kevin said it numerous times. He says men understand between each other there's a low level threat of violence, right? They understand that there's nothing in the culture that says a man can't put hands on another man if he's threatened or even disrespected.
Right.
There's nothing in the culture that says that. Actually, the culture commands it. The culture says, hey, man disrespect you, man, step on your sneakers, look at you funny, talk about your mama. You got to hurt this guy. And that's why guys who are not Suge Knight size don't approach Suge Knight size guys. That's why nobody messes with Dr. T. He got those grizzly bear revenant hands.
You go.
Got the paw. Put the paws on them. So that's what I'm saying. We don't do this, but women have been socialized a different way because there's no low level threat. Now, mind you, in the West, because they've been trained, they can get away with it. Bill Burr has spoken on this crazy. No matter what happens in these third world countries, not only, like Charles said, will you have that threat of violence as a woman, But then there's the threat of, again, you know, we have these built-in things into American and Western culture that protect women from getting left, impoverished, all of these things. So if everything that would put them in danger from us, whether it's our violence or our abandonment of them or their children, has been kind of rectified. Like it's built into not only the culture but the legal system. But what women have to understand is that some men, because it's a small group of men, don't care about the law. They don't care about these social norms. They don't care. You put hands on them, they're gonna respond in the most instinctual way possible. Okay. They don't care about people like, oh, you know, with the law in this state and that. Some guys don't care about that. Just like they don't care about burning down houses and robbing people and killing people. Some of these guys are not of this, you know, this religion that we call feminism, simping, and all of this stuff. I'm definitely not. So I understand, like, yo, you got to tell your sisters, got to tell your daughters, got to tell your mother even. One day you might come upon the wrong guy and I might not be there for you. And also, do not feel any shame about exercising your human right to defend yourself.
Right.
As a black man, your human right, basic human right. Don't feel bad like you ran the red light or you took the pack of gum without paying for it. Get that. Try to shake that training out, man, because again, you deserve better, especially, you know, us guys, we working hard and we killing ourselves to be this good man archetype. Right. And to build it, and so they will come and on all this other crazy stuff. And it's a hoax. It's a con game. So seek better, do better, defend yourself, and you know, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty about, you know, being selfish, period. And that's it. Right.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming up. Y'all got to know this wasn't planned. I asked Marcus while he was in the chat, so he was kind enough to come through. So it's much appreciated. I left the banner on the screen so you could see how to get to his channel, and everybody else that was up here. Let them know when they're gonna hear from you again, and you know what time and day and all that good stuff.
Right. It's funny. I'm gonna drop some more shorts. I just dropped a short relating very much to this topic. So again, like you said, we didn't see this coming. Saturday Night Live, man. If you want to follow me, I'm gonna type my name in the chat. All you gotta do is right click on it and it'll take you to my channel. But yeah, Saturday Night Live. I'm on every Saturday around 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock West Coast. So yeah, check me out. If you missed the live, then check the replay and subscribe to me, because if you don't check out my videos, what you will see is the community tab, and my community tab is well-known reckless.
Oh my God. Well, the shorts are following up on that, man, because I'm not gonna break it down. Y'all go watch that Russian piece on how Russia saw the Griner situation. Man, that shit had me on my anyway.
Right.
So y'all check out the Keep It 100's channel, support him, subscribe to the channel, and check him out. You said Saturday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern.
9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock. You know, if you subscribe, you get the notification.
There it is.
So you'll know when it's a 9 p.m. East. Right. Shout out to everybody in the chat that actually is subscribed to me, and shout out to my members that are in here in the house right now. Yeah.
That's what's up. All right, brother. Thanks a lot for coming through, man.
No doubt. Peace out.
Peace.
All right. Good looking. Later.
All right. So much appreciation to all the brothers that came through tonight. I see you in there, Spain, man. What's up? What's good with you? Got a shout out to my boy Ian in the house. What's up, Ian? I see Donnie in there. So a few of the brothers I didn't get to greet earlier. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, man, I just want y'all to take care of each other. Want you to take care of yourselves. And when it comes to navigating intimate partner violence, get out of the situation as quickly as possible. If you can't, get a video recording of it. ask the person to leave. If you're there in your space, you leave. If you're in theirs, if they refuse to leave, I have no problems. If it has to escalate to calling the police, as long as you've provided some video to support yourself, protect yourself. Of course, if they get violent, and you got to defend yourself, do what you got to do. My option is that you put the person outside. If you can't come to that and you got to defend yourself. But here's the critical piece. And this is something that I think Blueface could stand to learn. It's more important to vacate the relationship than it is to just vacate that one-time situation. I mean, once it happened once, you got to go. But it's that much more important that you leave the relationship once it becomes clear that this person has no concern about your safety, your well-being, any of that. And if they're willing to be violent with you, particularly on a regular basis, leave. It's just not going to work out well from that standpoint. Leave. And I urge those of you who may find yourself in these situations, I know how toxic relationships can be. I know how it can be to be connected, to feel soul tied to somebody, but there's a point where you have to leave. And sometimes it feels like cutting off a limb, but you know what? Cut it off. Get it to the point where you can heal as early as possible. And you can't heal as long as you entertain and maintain that toxicity in your life. Cut it off, go heal, leave, figure out what your standards are, what you're going to tolerate, what you're not going to tolerate, and be able to articulate them, because life is too short for this level of stress. And we already, as Black men, are vacating this earth much too early for the stress we're dealing with. So protect yourselves at all times, fellas. Thanks for supporting the show. Hope you all have a good night. Peace. I am here to tell you, brothers, we are not criminals by birth, perennial rapists, incapable intellects, man-children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, unintelligent henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your worth. Peace.